We're streaming today. We're streaming today. What can I say? But we're streaming today. We're streaming today. We're streaming today. We're streaming. We're dreaming today. Hi there. Hope you're doing well. Oh man, today has been like an exceptionally odd day for me. Personally, woke up nice and early, had a good walk. I did a good video today, but the commentary that is coming. What are the weird things that happened? So, I had somebody post on an old video I did. I posted a video the day I lost my job. I used to be the assistant manager of a toy store, full-time job with benefits. Lost that job, and I was let go. And someone called me a loser for working at a toy store, which I really am like, you just can't win with these capitalists, right? Like, it doesn't matter what job you have. Somehow they'll find a way to denigrate you if you are critiquing capitalism while doing it. Like, that job at that toy store was like a full-time with benefits management job, right? Like, and I worked for a multi-million-dollar company. So this person like calling me a loser for working at this toy store job, I was immediately like, oh, like I can't imagine, like, imagine taking the time to actually make fun of someone because you think their job isn't worth doing. Like, that makes you the true loser, right? Hey DM, how you doing today? I'm just expressing like how odd today has been, and then was it today's video? There's just this fella that kept commenting on a bunch of my videos, saying, "Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks, bro." And it's like, I'm not an anti-Semite, and I don't make anti-Semite remarks. And in fact, I really go out of my way to make sure that I am explicit, especially on the subject of Israel, who I am critiquing, and who am I critiquing are the Zionists. Mainly, which if you want to conflate Zionism with Judaism, you can go ahead, but that makes you intellectually dishonest. So just like really, really strange, weird. Yeah, some people have too much time on their hands, but also like they just don't think their shit through, you know? Like, the weird ones are the people who like, I don't understand how they don't get that their comments are self-defeating, right? That they're coming into the conversation. Hey Ruth, how you doing today? Good to see you. Like, I don't see how they don't understand that like they're strengthening my position, right? That like I look at them and and all I see is exactly as you're saying, like just this loser who's like trying to somehow knock me down a peg, but ends up like affirming my position completely. So, but just a very, very strange day. Very, very strange day. So, but hey, I guess, you know, it's Friday for you, right? Are we going into a full moon or something? Am I missing this? What's the lunar? Maybe that'll explain it. What's the lunar cycle right now? What's the lunar cycle today? What's the moon phase? That's what I'm looking for. No, we're only at we're at a waning crescent, no less. So it's we're not even heading towards the full moon. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of you to say, DM. You're doing a fantastic job, John, in making your point, though. They're just trying. You know what? I think you're right. Like, that's the big takeaway for me, is that I must be hitting close to the mark, because if I was not inflaming something in these people, they would ignore me, right? Like, that I must be cutting close to the mark, close to the marrow in some way. And genuinely, I feel that there are lots and lots of people out there who like they cannot face what is real, and especially with the Lytton situation. The Lytton situation is like it's starting to cut really close. Oh yeah, that was that was well, righteous. Well, that's kind of you to say. Thank you, DM. The other one that someone was doing to me, they're trying to say that it was the burning down of the churches, right? So we all know that story, right? That, and I believe that's going to be coming up in the feed pretty much straight away. Should be anyway. If you don't know, there have been churches that have been getting burned down because of the First Nations residential school story. So people have been burning down schools, which I don't, burning down churches, which I don't think is the correct response. I understand why people are doing it. I understand where that energy is coming from. And I wouldn't be too surprised. I haven't done any research on this, so this is just speculation, but I wouldn't be too surprised to find out that the churches that are getting burned down are the abandoned churches in the first place. I will gladly cede that point and be corrected on that if somebody were to provide me with evidence to the contrary. But so there's this person who's trying to conflate that event and say that it's the burning of the churches that is what is burning down the town of Lytton, and it's like, it's like this active attempt to deny reality, right? Like that no, climate change can't be the reason. Like it can't be the climate. It can't be the fact that Lytton is the place where we're breaking temperature records, right? Like it's this kind of nouveau form of denial where they have to find a reason, and so it's there are churches being burnt down, so it's got to be that because I can't handle the truth about climate change, because if it's true, if climate change is true, that's so much more extravagant and so much more deadly, frankly. So, and also, I mean, it could be just a simple form of racism, right? Speaking of the BC wildfires, here is the Vancouver Sun reporting on the wildfires that are going throughout the region. The fires of note, of course. And then these red dots, okay? So the red dots indicate new fires, right? And we've got out of control, right? Like, and this is just in British Columbia. So, like, the wildfires, we're going to get more stories like Lytton. We're going to get more stories like that. And when I scroll down here, right? So 100 new, 14 are held. I don't quite understand what the difference between held and controlled is. Maybe held is kind of just like, okay, we've like created a barrier. Some people can't handle the truth. Where's my Jack Nicholson impression? I've never actually even tried a Jack Nicholson impression. Like, you can't handle the truth. That's about as good as I think I could do. And I feel like I just come across sounding like an old man, like, you can't handle the truth. Anyway, and so 13 controlled, 411 out. So what that means is that up until now, they've had 411 forest fires already that they've put out. But now they're losing control of some of these, right? And we're talking about fires like these yellow ones, 310 square kilometers. Oh, and this one they suspect was caused by a person. How interesting. Suspected cause person, unknown. Oh, interesting. Lightning. Oh, here you go. Just straight up lightning touching down. There's something epic and powerful about these wildfires. And remember the Australian wildfires from yesteryear, right? So we're gonna have Australia's gonna get really ramrodded, man. Australia's gonna really experience it, man. Oh. And anyway, so this Lytton situation has inspired me to write a new song today. That's what I did today. I wrote a new song, so I'll be performing that probably at around 7 when more people come in. Climate change is the direct result of careless capitalism, directed by rich sociopath billionaires who could not care less if the sky falls on everything. Well, and it's time for us to really acknowledge that, like, there's a reason I call this a death cult, right? Like, these billionaires are suicidal, right? Like, these fossil fuel guys. Imagine being there in the 80s and the 70s and looking at the literature, like looking at your own research and your own information. And what are they saying to you? They're saying this fossil fuel situation is going to result in environmental catastrophes, right? And just going, meh. And in fact, not only going meh, but actively funding propaganda in order to propagandize the populace through the 90s and the early 2000s to pretend as though climate change was fake, right? Like, these people are suicidal. They just wanted to spend those years being rich, I guess. They just decided, like, well, I'm going to die eventually anyway, so I don't care if when I die the place burns down. As long as I was able to go to Jeffrey Epstein's island and have sex with little girls, then, you know, everything's totally fine. So, but, like, they're suicidal. For sure they're suicidal. Like, they don't care about their own children. They don't care about their own families. Like, they don't care at all. Literally, like, we've got, like, Branson now is talking about, like, oh, I'm going to get to space too. Like, the billionaires are looking at the situation, and their conclusion is, oh, well, we'll just leave the planet and go to space. Like, this is what they're doing. And it's like they would rather pursue that path than actually attempt to pursue a path to stop this from occurring. Like, it's if there are historians that survive this event, they're going to look back and be like, what the hell? Like, this is insanity. Like, it's beyond insanity. And which is why I'm recommending to everybody, like, no, full stop. Yeah, we're not working for these capitalists anymore, right? And they're going to put little signs on their doors being like, well, we can't find workers because of these benefits, right? Because capitalists are morons and they don't know anything about the system they work or live in. Meanwhile, their workers are like, I'm not going to work to enrich pedophilic child rapists who are, like, launching themselves into space in order to avoid the consequences of this catastrophe they're leaving behind. Like, so what an absurd situation, what an absurd world. And you're absolutely right, Ruth. People need to blame, and when they can't blame, they excuse. Yeah. And we simply can't, as a people. Yeah, general strikes, then they will listen. Yeah, and I'm not really even calling it general strikes. I'm saying we need a full-scale rebellion. Like, a full-scale rebellion. Like, literally, we need to be occupying the parliament. We need to be standing, like, in the halls of power, screaming at these politicians every single day to do better, to do more about this. And that is what it's going to take, because our political class is so lazy and pathetic. Like, I don't even think that they're like yeah, more than strikes where everything stops. Like, we should be taking vehicles and clogging up major highways, like the 401. Like, we should be clogging everything up and literally just preventing people. Like, if I was in charge right now, I would be straight up paying people. Like, if I was a politician, I would be paying people to stay home. I would be saying to them, stay home, do not drive your vehicle, none of that, stay home. And the capitalists will be like, but, and I would be like, oh, okay, great, so you're in prison now, shut up. like, we are in a full-scale I don't understand how this is not a national emergency. Like, I don't understand how this isn't a military emergency. Like, how is this not, like, how are these wildfires, how is this not considered, like, a military level emergency? That's what's shocking me the most. Like, where are the generals? Where are the admirals? Where are the military personnel coming out and saying, like, this is a national security issue? Like, and it reminds me so much of like how World War I went, that there was just the industrialization of war was such a foreign and new concept that no one had really even understood. That so at first, the response to things like the Gatling gun were idiotic, right? Like, we literally have documents of generals, like high-level military personnel, saying, well, just send as many men as you have at it. It can't kill all of them. Except it could, right? And it's very much the same sort of thing here with the climate change issue, where we literally have people saying, well, climate change can't kill all of us. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And I'm really beginning to say, like, it's just disrespect. It's just arrogance and disrespect. Like, the natural world is more powerful than we are, by a lot. And like, the only reason it doesn't wipe us out is because it doesn't really perceive us as a threat. We're not important enough to wipe out. But now here we are, like, defying its rules, and we're just going to wipe ourselves out. Yeah, that's because corporate media is blinding the masses with gaslighting. Yeah, for sure. Like, we are going to need, like, a full-scale... not only are we going to need a full-scale mobilization, like a wartime economy built by a government, like, not only are we going to need that, but we should have judicial hearings and put corporate media on trial. Like, just like we did with Nazi propagandists, right? Like, when the Nazis went on trial at The Hague, the propagandists went with them. And I'm talking about, like, people like Tucker Carlson. I'm talking about, like, people who write in the National Post, probably the National Post itself. Like, we need a full-scale investigation and hearing into the anti-climate change propaganda. And people need to go to prison. Like, at minimum. Like, the destruction of these cities and these towns, like Lytton is gone. It burned down, right? And it's completely climate change related. Oh, Jeff has entered the chat, but I don't see anything. Did it get deleted? Such is life. Well, hi, Jeff. Well, and Ruth, to your comment, like, I'm sad that people are sheep and really don't care to understand what's going on around them too. But I actually have come to pin that on the capitalist system itself. That people don't actually have time or energy, right? Everybody is, like, running around with their head chopped off just dealing with this crisis of capitalism, right? They're just trying to get food on their table. That's it. And, like, any time they have off, they're spending, recovering from the ass kicking that capitalism is giving them. And so they don't, and anytime I interact with these people, like, it's and start talking about issues like climate change or any of this, it's all they have, the only amount of energy they have to put into it is just like a shrugging, like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Like, that's it. And like, they're a victim. I don't think they're like, I think that we've just been completely, are people not entitled to less than expert opinions? Oh yeah, of course they are. They just don't have energy for them. Hey Ward, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. They just don't have the energy for them, right? Like, they just can't. Like, it's not that they have less than expert opinions, it's that they literally don't have the energy to engage, right? And it's the same thing with our political system. It's the same thing. Like, capitalism is kicking everybody in the ass. And that's by design, right? The Gulf of Mexico is on fire right now? Oh my God. The Gulf of Mexico, is on fire. Fire at offshore Pemex platform in Gulf of Mexico under control. Still, though, that's not the greatest news. That, like, Oh well, it's coming from the national oil company, so they're telling you the truth. A fire in the ocean surface west of Mexico's peninsula early on Friday has been extinguished, blaming a gas leak from an underwater pipeline for sparking a blaze. Well, I'd like to see that video. On fire. Pipeline exploded. Oh my god.
Looking for feedback?
No, I am not looking for feedback. Your feedback is irrelevant to me. All right, here we go.
Those images coming in from the Gulf of Mexico tonight, a deadly blast. A ball of fire as an oil platform explodes offshore, workers jumping into the Gulf to save their lives.
Jeez.
One survivor saying there was nothing you could do but run. At least 4 people killed, dozens injured, hundreds evacuated. And this fire comes just as we approach the 5-year anniversary of the BP disaster. And ABC's Matt Gutman leads us off.
The inferno lighting up the Gulf of Mexico tonight. The fireball sometimes blinding. Survivors of the blast saying they took these cell phone videos. This man describing the fire as huge. We couldn't do anything but run away. Many men leaping into the water. Mexican authorities said the blast and flames have killed at least 4. Dozens more were hurt and about 300 evacuated.
Hey, Demand Better, how you doing, bud? And like, this is all tied into the same thing, the whole privatization riff, right? Like, Google Maps, officially have to sing the Google Maps song. But like, it's the same thing that's going on in Texas with the power grid there. It's the same thing that's going on in New York City with their power failings that are happening there, right? And it's the same thing that's going to be happening in the Gulf of Mexico here. It's these privatized sources, or these privatized companies rather. They need to be running everything. I'm sorry, they don't need to, but they do run everything at like threadbare margins, right? And so maintaining stuff is meaningless, right? Especially because an explosion like this, right? Well, what's going to happen? Well, the government's going to come in and save everybody and bail everything out, right? Like, that's what the government always does. It doesn't look at the company and say, well, you're screwed, right? Too bad for you. That's not what they say. What they do is they hand a bunch of money to the billionaire class, who typically just offshore it. But it's the classic, like, privatized gains, socialized losses, right? Where is a reliable source of information? Yeah, good question, Ward. These days, it's coming down to like individuals, right? It's not even like, it's not even. You can't really trust institutions anymore, right? It is coming down to just individuals, like Chris Hedges, like Glenn Greenwald, right? Like that. Individuals are where you need to be turning. To find your news, and it's getting to be like it's turning into almost like movie reviews, where like you just find the person who you like and who you trust. Yeah, Justin Trudeau getting a second shot as the leading headlines for CBC and CTV, yet the homeless pandemic is ignored. Of course it is. Invisibilizing the poor and the homeless is crucial. It's a crucial act of propaganda. You can't just talk about it, even. You can't be open about it. Because they know that there's no, like, winning argument for the corporations. You can't have, like, a pro-capitalist position. The best that the capitalists can come up with is this, oh, well, these guys just need to get a job, which is so childish and pathetic that they know they can't. It's an argument that falls apart the minute that it's scrutinized at all. Like, even people on the right, even right-wingers, right? And I'm talking like your red Tory types, right? Even people on the right, when they hear that "just get a job" line, they like go like, "What are you talking about, dude? Like, that's not what's happening here. Like, it's really, really obvious that that's not what's happening here." But there's this like fascist contingent on the right that's very much like, these guys just need to get a job, they're weak, right? They deserve to be purged. That's essentially what you're saying. Like, if your position is just get a job, you're basically just like right up against like, you deserve to be purged. That's really, really where you're standing. Yeah. And this all ties into what I was saying before, especially about the wildfires that are going through and the climate change catastrophe we're going through. I would like to see a full-scale investigation and a prosecution of the fossil fuel industry. Like, I want to see people and their propagandists. Like, we need to have a full-scale, like, Hague level cleansing of our corporate media discourse, especially when it comes to the issue of climate change. Like, that it's too much to ignore now. You can't ignore it. Yeah, exactly, Jeff. Exactly, right? Like, the majority of women in your shelter have jobs. Well, exactly, and like that, we know for a fact that the people who were working in these long-term care homes, these privatized long-term care homes, it was so interesting because the guy that was actually running the report, he said that he couldn't even fathom what he was seeing. He hadn't even contemplated that it was the case that the people who were working in the long-term care homes lived in the shelters, right? Like, it just blew his mind that that's what was going on, which tells you how detached these people are, right? That, like, at least he saw it and had the, like, humanity to be like, whoa, holy cow, what? Instead of, like, being a fucking sociopath. But it just shows you how detached people are from this, that they genuinely don't understand what's happening in front of them. Do I trust StatsCan? Yes, I trust StatsCan because StatsCan is not commenting on the information that they gather. They just gather information. That's it. They don't really create commentary. And if you go into any kind of StatsCan article or any kind of thing, it is just raw data, and you can interpret that data how you'd like, right? But StatsCan itself is just gathering information. That's all it's doing. I know more than a few people who work for StatsCan, and I'm fires in Kamloops now. Ugh. Kamloops. Where exactly is Kamloops? Oh man. Like, what's it gonna take, eh? Is it gonna take like a fire literally like just getting into Vancouver? Like, is it going to have to be that there's like a fire like right on the edge of like in Abbotsford or something, right? Is there gonna have to be a fire like down here taking over Bellingham, right? Are people gonna have to be getting on boats and fleeing into the ocean in order to escape these wildfires, right? Like, is that what it's going to take before people start genuinely taking? And near as I can tell, the provincial NDP has been an enormous letdown. Yeah, bud, we were just talking about that. Hey, Chris, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Good to see you. The how big is Kamloops? Here, quick facts. Kamloops, because what happened to come on now, Kamloops population 90,000. 90,000 is not an insignificant size city. Yeah, that's a pretty significant size city. And if they're going to have to get into like an evacuation moment or something to this effect, because like, okay, so here's Kamloops. Let's see if we can refer. So Moore Creek, Nicola Lake, Lytton Creek, George Road, because like people are going to forget about Lytton instantly, right? People are going to forget about Lytton instantly. Because it was only a population of like 300 people, right? And so it's such a small amount of people. In many ways, it's like the Fort McMurray explosion. You guys remember the Fort McMurray explosion that destroyed the town of Fort McMurray? People forgot about that instantly. Oh, there we go, Kamloops up here. Oh, wow. Looks like there's a couple. So we got, looks like these are just yesterday have started up. We'll see, and over here at Sparks Lake, There is a fire of note going on. So Kamloops is getting surrounded by fires. Oi. Oh. Hey, Wigwith, how you doing? You've got family in Kamloops? I hope that they're well. I hope they're safe. I hope they're safe. Oh. Kamloops is another semi-bigger town in a valley surrounded by trees. Half of it is on a hill. Oh. Wow, man. It's, like, this is intense, man. This is intense. I'm, like, we know that the liberals have not done enough. Like, we know that these liberals have not done enough. Like, I went to the grocery store today, which has become like a heartbreaking experience to talk to the people who work at this grocery store. But they're using cloth bags now. They got rid of their plastic bags. And if you want a cloth bag, it's only 25 cents. So, and it's a reusable bag. It's actually fairly good. So there's a step, right? There's a step. But it's a step that I'm like, we should have made that step like 20 years ago, right? Like if we had made that kind of step in 2001 or 2002, right? I would have been like, okay, cool. Like we're on the path. We're doing things, right? But now we're getting rid of plastic bags and we're getting rid of straws like now. It's like not even close. Yeah, maybe it's going to take if there's a major, I'm of the opinion generally, dude, that if there is a flood that is of the scale that will actually mobilize people to do something about climate change, it will already be too late, right? We're talking about a flood event that would actually like raise the waters enough to wipe out Florida, wipe out sections of New York, right? The coast here into Delaware, right? Like and all it's going to take is the sea to rise like a foot or two, right? For significant and major damage to be done on these coasts. Like not even to mention like what's going to happen through Baja, right? Down through the Gulf of California, right? Like this the whole like Mexico, this little section right here, like is yeah, exactly. I don't know what to call you, so I'm going to call you Best. That's what I'm going to call you. Good to see you, bud. I don't know if I've ever seen you in here. Welcome. Glad to have you. Yeah, we are talking about the world map changing. Like, how does... hello, Jace. I don't think I've seen you in here either. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Yeah, we're just talking about... Here in British Columbia, ton of fires. We lost a town. The town of Lytton, British Columbia, has burned down. Kamloops is looking pretty scary. If I'm living in Kamloops and somebody in the chat here has somebody in the chat has family in Kamloops, and so hopefully you'll be keeping us apprised. Who was it that said that? Wigwith? Yeah, Wigwith, please keep us up to date, okay? I wanna. If I had family living in Kamloops, I'd be biting my nails. I'd have my phone here, and I would be keeping it close. Yeah, well, when Yukon and Alaska are warmer than some cities, it won't be long. Yeah. The collective unconscious is the invisible hand. That's deep, Ward. That's too deep for Friday, bud. Come on. That's you're from the Rob Russo gang? Oh yeah. I remember. I've only heard of Rob Russo, so I haven't invested any time. But everything I understand about him is he's a wonderful guy, and bring more people over from the Rob Russo gang. Let's. Oh jeez, I'm like spilling my coffee all over myself. What a disaster I am today. Okay. I don't know how to give myself a real screen name now. Yeah. I'm right there with you, man, with this like tech stuff. It's one of the big things. Like I downloaded a whole other program to do streaming, and it's just like, it's so, I don't even know. what I'm even doing. Oh yeah, Ward is great on the UBI Works page. Ward's commentary is always good. Oh well, thank you, damn boxes, spreading me around. That's very nice. That's very nice. Yeah, I think I'm on that Discord. I feel weird spreading my own stuff around the Discord stuff. I feel a bit odd about that. So it's nice. Look at that. Damn boxes helping me on out. Thank you so much, bud. I appreciate it. I don't mind promoting on like certain subreddits that let me do it, or my own Twitter feed or anything, but I do feel a bit odd like going onto somebody else's Discord and starting to spread my stuff around. Unless I think it's like super important, but for the most part, I find these guys are actually on the same pulse as I am. So I think my role in all of this is just to be a little bit more hysterical than them. Like, all these guys seem like really like straight edge, and they're trying to like really like present themselves as like, oh, look at me, I'm a rational, normal, totally sane sort of person, isn't? Yes, we should talk about these issues from the left a little more, don't you think? Yes, I agree. Let's talk about these things. Whereas I'm standing here being like, the death cult is eating our children. So, yeah, I guess so. I guess somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it, goddammit. All right. Well, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play a song. For those who are new, welcome. I play songs on this thing from time to time. This is a piece. I made this up just this morning. So if I struggle or have to stop and start, please forgive me. Okay. What happened to Linton? You're embarrassing me with your stupidity. What happened to Linton? I'm not gonna burn down quietly. Harvest the bones from your loved one's grave. Brew up the dark elixir. Pour out their souls into infernal machines, burning their souls to go quicker. What happened to Linton? You're embarrassing me with your stupidity. Tell me, what happened to Linton? I'm not going down quietly. And when they flee from your machines in clouds of black exhaust, they'll find their vengeance in the skies to bounce out what they've lost. What happened to Linton? You're embarrassing me with your stupidity. What happened to Linton? I'm not gonna burn quietly. Quietly, the grave past time so silently. Why wake us up from our peaceful sleep? We'll see you join us in the deep. What happened to Linton? You're embarrassing me with your stupidity. What happened to Linton? I'm not gonna burn down quietly. What happened to Linton? You're embarrassing me with your stupidity. What happened to Linton? I'm not gonna burn down quietly. Yeah, I'll give myself an A. Not an A+. I can smooth that out a little bit more. That did okay. That did okay. Ugh. Ugh. I defer to John if that is your real name for inspiration. He sings great, by the way. A great songwriter. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. No, and the thing that kills me about what we're doing with this climate change thing is that we seem to be marching towards it, doing everything we're told to do. Like we're just being obedient this whole time. Like that's the thing that kills me about this is that we're marching towards this grave, this like mass suicide event, this extinction event, and we're just doing what we're told. Like I play another song and that's one of the lines in it. Like we're gonna burn to death doing what we're told. Like I can't. That's the thing I can't understand about this. That like, if there are survivors of this event, they're going to look back and be like, they just like silently marched towards it. They didn't. They like kind of grumbled amongst themselves, but they didn't actually do anything to stop it. Like we should be buying cheap vehicles and jamming up the 401. We should definitely stop participating in anything, any of this. Like when I go out and walk on the street and I see all these cars piling by, right? They're just like piling by. I'm like, what are we, fucking stupid? I mean, the answer is obviously yes. Like it's obviously yes. Like any intelligent creature would just stop, right? And that's what's so embarrassing about all of this is that, like we keep trying to come up with like a solution, like a technology, or like we'll carve out the earth and like go underground bunker style, or we'll shoot rockets to Mars, or we'll make some kind of technology. And literally that's easier for us to imagine and contemplate than the idea of just like stopping. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Stop. Stop participating in this. Stop buying trash. Ward. For you, Ward. Absolutely. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna play probably my favorite song that I made. I made this. How much do I want to reveal? So my ex and I broke up after a 10-year relationship at the beginning of the pandemic. And I moved out. And at the time I was living in like a shitty basement apartment. And then I lost my job. So I made this song. Another month inside this car. The wage they pay me with don't get me very far. The chains that hold me break me down, but they don't scar. Can't even drink away my blues inside a bar, and this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. Another day won't help that pain inside your back. The days get harder, but it's too hard to keep track. They keep you tied before your soul opens a crack. And God don't care what monkeys think about the facts. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you your pile of bones and bloody gold. And human sacrifice don't stop you being old. At least you'll die before the bomb you said explodes. We're gonna burn to death while doing what we're told. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. Yeah. Ugh. 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 Sometimes I legitimately feel like the only reason I'm alive is to play that third verse for these like psychopaths like Donald Rumsfeld. I'm like, it is my absolute pleasure to watch you die. It is my absolute pleasure to look at your grave and go, you were a fucking psychopath. Ugh. That's a good one, actually, Ward. I'm gonna write that down. Hey, Robin, how you doing? Thank you, DM. That is actually. Just stop. I'll write that one tomorrow. Presented on Monday. Ugh. It's one of the things that's happened to me about doing this live stream is like I'm suddenly making like song after song after song. Like it's just generating now. Especially because like I play it on the stream and even one person is saying, wow, that was really good. And I'm like, someone thinks that I'm really good? Oh well. I don't know that I can. I've actually been thinking about that, and I'm trying to stay away from. I'm trying to stay away from songs that. Although I probably could. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. That's very sweet. I probably could if I just don't want to risk it, bud. That's all it comes down to. I just don't want to risk it. And like the Beatles, like that's I feel like I'm just asking for trouble. But like the reason why I might be able to get away with it is that I wouldn't sing it like the Beatles, right? I wouldn't but like I just don't know, the algorithm probably wouldn't pick it up. Right? Like the algorithm would probably just be like, so you know what? Let's if you guys will tolerate me doing this, I can because what I'll do is I'll bring it up on the laptop. Cuz like Beatles music is actually like pretty straightforward for the most part. Beatles Revolution. Yeah, like they're like going like, so you say you wanna rev ba 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 da 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 da. That is not how I would sing that song. Let's see how I could do this. See, a big reason why I don't like this song is because one of the key lines in it is, "Don't you know it's gonna be all right?" And I hate to break it to you guys, I don't know if it's gonna be all right. I don't know if it's gonna be all right. Let's see. Okay, it's kind of awkward because I can't actually get it all on one screen. Rick Beto got a copyright strike just for playing the opening. All right, that's the end of that. Thanks, onward. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Like copyright strikes aren't that scary. Like they're not that scary. YouTube is actually really forgiving about copyright strikes. They'll just put a flag on it, take the video down, and then you can go in and like splice out the part. And they've even got it automated basically. So you just like hit a button, it splices it, and then you hit another button confirming it. They let you like lengthen it out if you like or anything like that. So YouTube's pretty nice. Like it's a nice interaction. It doesn't hurt me, but yeah. And what's weird is that like some organizations are like totally cool with it, right? Like some organizations are just like, and I think this is the right way to do it, which is, especially with like music or something, is that your position should be, oh, they're proliferating it, right? They're taking the music that I make and they're proliferating it, right? And maybe I would want to be like, oh, let's have like a little pop-up or something happen so that like it'll always, like if I were to play a Beatles song, like Revolution, and the algorithm picked it up and they were like, oh, this is the Beatles Revolution. So the algorithm could just like put a little thing on your video and just be like, bloop, you know, Beatles Revolution, so that it would, and they could even link it so that you could actually click it and like go and listen to the original. That's the kind of stuff that I think that artists, like I myself would be like, yeah, that's great. I'm kind of just flattered people are playing the music, right? But it's usually like an estate. It's usually like the original creator is long gone, and the estate still owns the copyright, and the estate doesn't give a fuck about the artistry or anything like that. So the artistry is just like, so the artistry just gets clamped down, right? They just want like little pennies out of the deal. Yeah, how is the weather today in Georgia, bud? Did you hear about the explosion in the Gulf of Mexico? Right? It's like they're saying, I will listen to Rick Beto play the opening chords of the song instead of ever listening to the original recording. Yeah, it is sort of silly. It is a bit silly. But that's capitalism for you, baby. That's capitalism for you, right? Like, I do think that the true artist's position is, I'm just flattered that they're playing my music, right? And like, I would like to be credited, sure, like put a little pop-up to credit me, because clearly you can tell that it's being played, right? Like, you can tell it's being played. So instead of, oh no, you're playing it and we're going to shut it down, instead say, no, you're playing it and this is the song, right? Little pop-up, right? That would be great. I think that would be really accommodating and really lovely and actually help the original artist a lot, in my view. Like, if I played the Beatles Revolution and it created a link that took you to Beatles Revolution so that you could like buy their content or listen to their content, I think that helps the original artist better than just shutting it all down. Just being like, no. Because like, look at this situation, right? Look at this situation, right? Now I'm not playing the song, right? I'm not going to play Beatles Revolution. I'm not going to do it. And so now, like, maybe there's a person in the chat who's like, I've never actually heard that song. I'm one of these Gen Z kids. I'm only 16 or 17, and I don't. The Beatles Revolution. Okay, what's that? And so, like, maybe they're gonna go off and check it themselves. But if it's just like a person in a stream just sort of like popping off and playing some songs, well, now they're just not gonna do it, right? You don't understand, John. This promotes innovation. You know what, Robin? You're right. I forgot. My bad. Capitalism promotes innovation. My bad. It's better. It's better this way. You're right. It's better this way. YouTube actually has the link to original song mechanism. It just depends on what the particular publisher wants to do with it. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And so my experience is that, like, the artists are the ones that are like, yeah, link, please, link. Proliferate. Somebody else is playing my music for me. I don't have to actually play the music. I don't actually have to do it. They're doing it for me. And then you can link to it. Oh, man. What? That's brilliant. It's for sure, like, estates and, like, the grandmother or, like, the grandkid, right, who, like, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't care at all. They're just, it's just an asset. And their opinion is like, no, it is our asset, and we will asset with that asset. Yeah. Capital is all about innovation, disruption. Uber is good. #savvy. Yeah. Only 80% humidity onward. Good for you, bud. Good for you. Oh, man. This reminds me a lot of, Sam Smith. I don't know if you guys know who Sam Smith is, but he's, I really like Sam Smith, actually. So he makes a song, I forget which song he makes, but its chorus is essentially a Tom Petty song. Like, it's, and not one of the lesser known Tom Petty songs, like literally like I Won't Back Down, like that kind of thing. And like it's the same chorus, like very cleanly. And so Tom Petty actually sues Sam Smith. And in the end, it's like Sam Smith gives him like a percentage of the song earnings and then a writing credit, right? So it's not a big deal. And the whole time I was thinking, like, man, if I was Sam Smith and I was being sued by Tom Petty, I would be so flattered. Wouldn't you, if Tom Petty sued you for a song that you made? Because I can tell, like, Sam Smith probably wrote the song and like put it forward and then was like, oh yeah, that's great. Like and everybody around was probably like, oh, that's great, Sam, all that kind of stuff, and nobody connected it, right? It's probably Tom Petty heard it and was like, oh yeah, that's my song. And like, because that's how the brain works, right? Yeah, of course everybody does. Every artist steals something, right? Because in like the concept of it being theft is absurd, right? We're always absorbing and taking in information and retranslating it and taking sections of things and putting in things. We're always splicing and editing and recreating and rebuilding. How many times have I seen somebody like play a song and I thought to myself, I could play that song better, right? Like or like this section should be replaced with this, and we're constantly doing this as just people. And this is actually how innovation actually happens, right? You take something somebody else made and you riff it and you create and you evolve it and you do it again and you do it again and then you do it again and it changes and it morphs through time, right? So this idea of theft or stealing someone else's music or something like this is, in my view, kind of hysterically stupid. It's like it's one of these capitalist innovations we hear so much about, where they come in and they wedge themselves in and they're like, no, this sound that can be generated from our mouths has a little copyright beside, a little C with a circle around it. So this is owned by me now, and if you dare perform it, well, you got to put my name on it, and I got to get some money out of it. Capitalism's a curse, man. It's like a demonic, it's literally like a demon lives in our society and has control over everything. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I was about to say it's one of the subtle ones, but then I remembered, yeah, I doubt the Iraqis think it's very subtle. But again, I would say straight up, like, if Tom Petty was suing me, or like anybody of that stature was suing me, to get their name on my song, I would mainly feel flattered. I wouldn't even fight them. I would be like, oh yeah, sure, great. Yeah. Sam Smith, it'd be like John Sanderson featuring Tom Petty. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Do you want to come play the song with me? We could do a music video together. I would absolutely. I would plow right into that, man. I would for sure plow into that, and I would be like, yeah, absolutely, Tom Petty. I will. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, it costs them nothing to give a copyright strike, so they might as well do it. And the more I talk about it, the more it just seems a touch incoherent. I don't understand. Like, I guess you could make the argument that if you feel your song is of a kind of specific stature and you want to put it on, like, commercials, or you want to have, like, kind of control over the tone of what that song represents, like, you don't necessarily want it to, you know, be played by a 12-year-old kid, right? Like, and maybe that video suddenly spikes up, and then when anybody thinks of, you know, Iggy Pop's song, they actually think of this 12-year-old kid, right? So I can see how there could be like an ego thing in this, but yeah. Toronto man searching for missing emotional support dog spooked by fireworks. I think that we should stop doing fireworks. Like, controversial take, and probably an unpopular one, honestly. But it's one of these hills that I will die on. Like, all you're doing with fireworks is terrifying everything, terrifying people who are from, like, regions that have been bombed, and, like, we're doing it just to, like, assert our dominance and supremacy. Like, there's other things that we could do. Like, we could do, like, a light show. Like, couldn't we do something like that? Couldn't we do something that's less, let's blow the place apart, let's blow the place up, let's show everybody how effectively we could explode everything? Yeah, I saw that. A bunch of cops got blown up. Did the cops actually get blown up? I saw that the vehicle got blown up, that they seized like 200 pounds of fireworks seizure explosion. That's going to bring it up. Injure 17. Holy cow. That's a lot, dude. 17 people is a lot. That is a ton of people to get hurt. But the explosion's really big. Like, and they caught it all. They caught it all. Let's see if we can actually find the... Here, you know what? I bet you we're going to find... No, they're saying 16, 17. Okay. Like, here we go. Come on. Don't mess with me. Okay, it's gonna happen. Boom! Like, boom! Oh, man, I wish that camera had actually been zoomed out but when that happened, because, like, look at how devastating this explosion was. Like, look at this car. Right here. Look at this car. When this thing goes, boom, it rolls it right over. And look at the damage. Look at that, dude. 5,000 pounds. Yeah, oh, don't get me wrong, Ward. Like, I agree with you. Fireworks can be very artistic, and they are impressive in a way, but just, like, they just come with this kind of colonial idea. I just feel like yes, fireworks really capture the connections between war and not only capitalism, but your society generally. Like, I just feel like fireworks are a celebration of war, primarily. Look at this car, man. Look at these cars. They just got blown up, and this injured 16 people, man. Incredible. Yeah, dude. USA, USA, USA. Yeah. Oh, man. I would hate to have been involved in that, dude. That's catastrophic. Yeah, I follow penny stocks and investment in Wall Street bets just to kind of. I find like these places are actually doing. They keep me apprised of like stock market trends generally, and weed stocks are starting to really blow up, and people are really expecting weed to grow pretty fast in the United States. Which, of course, they'll keep all of the people who are in prison for minor drug offenses incarcerated forever. Kind of ambivalent, but as long as they don't keep you awake, yeah. I mean, they freak my dog out. and so my heart really sympathizes with this particular story. Right? Emotional support dog spooked by fireworks, runs off. Every year there's a story like that, where a dog runs off because he's scared of the fireworks, and it's just like, ah. So how fucked is this? If I go get a job, they are required by law to offer me health insurance because of the Affordable Care Act. However, because my chemo is an off-label use, they can actually deny covering the cost of it in part or in whole. If my wife goes and gets a job, it's the same scenario. That's $50K every 6 months that I would never be able to pay. So it's either stay unemployed and poor so I can keep getting the treatment I need in order to be able to walk, or go get a job and risk losing all the progress I've made over the last 2 years. America desperately needs a better healthcare system that doesn't force the sick to stay poor in order to stay alive. This reminds me, I've been watching Breaking Bad because it's on Netflix. I finished season 4, so only one more season to go. I gotta tell you, man, I am really looking forward to saying farewell to Breaking Bad. Like, it's great. It is a brilliant piece of art that brings together like the war on drugs, the healthcare system, and just sort of the callous, compassionless society that is America in like one connecting story that is brilliant and heartbreaking. And man, is it ever I knew it was. I knew it would. I knew it was going to be triggering my depression, and it does. It totally triggers my depression. I'm so glad that I got to the end of season 4, man, because I feel like season 5 is going to be more rompy. I just feel like it's all set up to be more of a romp. I'm not going to spoil anything, so no spoilers, but just like season 3 was the heaviest. Season 4 was like the most dangerous for the protagonist, I think. And now season 5 is going to be, it's got to be more rompy. It's got to be when everything kind of comes to a head for Walt. And that's going to be like dangerous, but he's going to be like more Scarfacey and like all of that. So I think it's going to be more fun. I hope, because boy, is Breaking Bad it is a real true, but that's a hallmark of excellent art, right? Excellent art comes up to you with a little knife and just like carves a piece of you out and pulls it out and wiggles it in front of you and says, hey, look at the thing. You like that about yourself? And then they hand it to you. And then you can either like look at it and try and get rid of it, or you can try to put it back, but you'll never be the same. That's good art. And that's definitely what Breaking Bad has done for me. Like, it's tough. And like, Jesse Pinkman is like such a sympathetic figure, and I find that they really do make people who are using meth and suffering from like drug addiction, they really make them very sympathetic. They're very, very sympathetic to people who are in that position. So yeah, really, really great. Really great. Kraven the Hunter. Who cares about Kraven the Hunter? I'm so sick and tired of this superhero bullshit. Exactly, Onward to Dystopia. It just numbs you out. That like, I was dealing with like Kraven the Hunter and like all this Marvel shit when I was a kid. When I was like 12, right? I was reading Marvel comics and DC comics, right? And like 12, 13, 14, right? You read like the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, right? And like it's all good. Don't get me wrong. Like, these comics are good, but like here I am and I'm like almost 40 and we're still like fucking dealing with this. Like we literally never grew up. We just instead of it being comic books that you actually read and like flip pages, right, and actually enjoy like the artistry, it has to be like jammed into our faces through film so that we're not even reading. We're not even like going like this and spending time with each panel or anything. We're literally just like just totally zoned out and zombified as like these flashing lights shine into our eyes like dangling keys. And then everybody walks out being like, wow, that was amazing. And then I ask people like, okay, but what was that movie about? Like really, like what are any of these Marvel films actually about? And when you actually critically analyze, especially like the films leading up to Avengers, like the Avengers Endgame, all of those films are fascist propaganda. They literally, their seminal arguments are things like might makes right, that it's totally cool that we have like a vigilante destroying everybody. We should be rooting for this guy. Like, ugh. So Hurricane Elsa is heading towards Florida, direct hit. They named it Hurricane Elsa. Let it go. Let it go. Please don't give me a copyright strike for singing Let It Go. Let it go. I hope it doesn't wipe out Florida. Please don't cause lots of big problems.
Per hour, remember, at 8 o'clock and at 2 o'clock we get little updates. We'll get new tracks at 5 and 11. So our next track will come out in about 2 hours from now. Expect it to strengthen a little bit. This could become a bit of a stronger tropical storm. I would not be surprised if this even became a weak hurricane at some time during the weekend. And then we're going to be waiting to see kind of where it makes that curve off towards the north. This is really driven by the subtropical high. The weaker the high, the earlier it curves. The stronger the high, the more it stays off towards the west. And things like that can change. But you'll notice, yes, we are still in that cone there. So right now we're going to feel some kind of impact from Elsa. Now if this doesn't change, if this is exactly where we see Elsa go over the Keys, this is certainly more of a rainmaker than a windmaker for us. There are still some tropical storm warnings and watches that are in effect right now for portions of the Lesser Antilles, and Elsa became the earliest fifth named storm on record. Last year, our E-named storm developed on July 5th. Obviously, Elsa developed today on July 1st. We're going to take a closer look at some of those impacts that Elsa could be bringing us. That's still ahead. Matt, Ashley?
Well, that's a good point. Like the hurricanes are starting sooner, right? So the hurricane season is widening. So, Arrested Development. Arrested Development actually has, without a doubt, the best line ever written is in Arrested Development, and that's come on, Michael, it's one banana. How expensive could it be? $10? Just a brilliant piece of work. That's like haiku level excellence that just captures like the delusion and the detachment of these sociopathic capitalists in like just a perfect phrase. Just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, art these days soaked, saturated with nostalgia. Yeah, mostly for an era which didn't really exist in the first place. That's all Disney has been doing, eh? Like the Aladdin remake, which was, in my view, like total bullshit. Literally the laziest thing ever made. Like Disney spent like $180 million to make Disney's Aladdin, and every shot of that film literally had all I see is like a dude smoking a cigarette. This is the view I get of the person responsible for calling the shots on Disney's Aladdin. He's just like watching what's being shot. He's smoking. He's got like a shaved head haircut, like a David Lynch kind of haircut, if you know what I'm talking about there, but it's like shaved on the sides and kind of long up here and kind of going down. And he's wearing like a brown tweed suit with like the patches on it, and maybe he's a little scruffy here, and he's smoking his cigarette. Good enough. And they just move on to the next shot. That's Disney's Aladdin, like that live action film. It was just so empty. It was so obviously like made by committee. It was so obviously just like, oh, let's get Will Smith in there, right? He'll bring a lot of people in to like watch the movie. Let's no, we don't need to hire good choreographers, right? Like what pissed me off the most about Disney's Aladdin is that Disney knows who Jackie Chan is, right? And they have like big scenes where there's supposed to be like parkour and shit, right? Where like Aladdin is supposed to be climbing up walls and like doing a whole bunch of fancy shit that they just decided, nah, we don't need to hire stunt people. We don't need to hire, like, sure, we're a multi-billion-dollar company, but nah, fuck all that, right? Like, hire Jackie Chan. Bring Jackie Chan in. Have Jackie Chan do all your choreography. Make something worth watching, right? And then on top of that, like, the genie is like this nightmare creature, right? Like, Will Smith looked like a fucking nightmare. And then the seminal song, You've Never Had a Friend Like Me, you can see how desperate they were to be like, we gotta make this good. It's gotta actually be good. It's gotta hit that mark, right? And it's the same story with Beauty and the Beast. And Lion King, in my view, is a total disaster. People need to just stop going to watch these stupid movies because they suck. Just watch the originals, back when they were actually trying to make good shit, just for the sake of making good shit. Like, the original Beauty and the Beast, Disney's original Beauty and the Beast, is a masterpiece. It is a masterfully done film. I literally only have one critique of Beauty and the Beast, of the original Beauty and the Beast, and it's so petty and pathetic that it makes me look like a dick, which is when the Beast goes to save Belle from the wolves, right? And he gets into the fight with the wolves, and then he passes out, and then Belle goes to like get on the horse, but then she thinks, I can't just abandon this guy, and so she like starts to go, and then there's like a crossfade out, and the Beast is on the horse's back going towards the palace. How the hell did she get that Beast on that horse? There is no way that if the Beast was unconscious and not able to respond, and she needed to lift this guy onto that horse, even if Philippe got onto his knees, right? Even if Philippe's a pretty smart horse, so he could get all the way down, but you're telling me she's like rolling him, I guess, over, and like maybe he attained enough consciousness to be able to like slow himself onto it, so maybe I could see it, but I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it, guys. I think they just shortcutted it. I think they just were like, and then he's on the horse and it's fine. I call bullshit. See? I'm like the biggest dick in the world. Like, fuck, who cares? That's so fucking stupid. Yeah. Well, and DM, you're like it, and things are getting faster too, eh? Like there's which, I mean, you can see the trajectory of that, where like, and I do worry that this is me turning into an old man, right? That people say like Casablanca was like the greatest film, but then you go watch Casablanca and you're like, oh my god, like, please move forward. Like, if Casablanca was made today, it literally would have been 20 minutes long. They would have just been like, right? And they just would have been like, Casablanca, out the door. And there's something to be said for like taking your time, like having a film that really settles you in and really like lengthens out, and it creates a new type of atmosphere. But it's not an atmosphere that I think people, like, if you went and watched if they made Casablanca today in the film, and I think the number one thing that people would say is like, wow, this film is so fucking slow. Like, oh my god, like get to it. Like, get to it, man. Like, oh my goodness. And you can see how films started to speed up. And you can see how like things started to get more aggressive, and now they're just like frantic. Right? They're just like lights and shining and blips and it's like Transformers, just like explosions and like things coming at you and all this kind of crazy shit. And it's like, it's and I watch it and I'm just like, it's almost like I'm watching nothing, right? Like it's just like an explosion of color and sound that doesn't even stay in your brain. So it's like you're watching nothing, and it's exhausting. The next 10 years is for the 30 to 45 years old to define. Yeah, we'll see about that. I feel like it's out of our hands completely. I think it's the billionaires, dude. It's the billionaires. As long as Thomas Ligotti isn't hurt, exactly. I hope the millennials decide to grab the bull by the horns and reverse course for the sake of humanity's survival. To me, it's more up to Gen Z. Like, I think the millennials have been very clear about where their perspective is. And it really is going to be like the 18 to 25-year-old crowd. That's going to just be like... And honestly, the big question I have for the Gen Z guys are Are you guys going to join the fight? Are you going to fight, or are you going to go? Are you going to go nihilism? And they can go nihilism. And if they go nihilism, that's it. That's it. There's no pulling it up, because the boomers are delusional. So I shouldn't say that so widely. I'm sure there's I know, Ruth, you're in the chat. I don't mean to offend, and Ward, you as well. But like the classic conservative sort of straight white male Archie Bunker type, which seems to unfortunately define the boomer generation. Like, they're lost. Like, there's no way we're getting these people back. There are people still voting conservative, for God's sakes. Like, they're gone. Like, they're gone, right? And I feel, and I worry that like Gen X is largely kind of apathetic, because that's all they've ever been. They've just sort of always been like, these fucking guys, right? And they've been living their whole lives in this kind of like just dealing with this, right? Which you can see manifest in like 90s alternative rock, like Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, right? Just this like roaring angst that this is what our lives are, and it isn't going to be different or better, that this is just it. And because they've been living in that state for so long, this narrative of like, yeah, Gen Z will come up and then everything will change. I just feel like Gen X is probably looking at that being like, yeah, sure, bud. Right. And the millennials, I think, now are, like, the millennials are largely nihilistic, I think. Like, I don't see a lot of hope. I don't see a lot of we can do it. I see a lot of joking about suicide, right? I see a lot of like, kind of like, well, what are you gonna do, right? And so like if the Gen Z kids show up and they're like kicking in the doors like Greta Thunberg style, and they're like kicking in the doors and be like, go fuck yourselves, let's do it. I think the millennials will follow Gen Z, because like the millennials can tip back. Like, sure, they're nihilistic at the moment, but I think that they can tip back pretty easily. But if Gen Z goes nihilistic, if Gen Z goes full nihilism, I think that's the end of the story. Because like it's literally, it's people like me, right? It's people like me, like this Rob Rousseau guy, like YouTube people. Like, literally, these are the people who are trying to push this forward, right? People who are fucking on YouTube. Like, our most successful leftists are people like Kyle Kalinske, right? Like, that's how weak we are. So the idea that suddenly we're going to push it over and actually, like, there is actually going to be lawsuits put against the fossil fuel industry, we are actually going to stop this climate change thing. I mean, I'm down. Like, that's the reason I'm here. That's the whole reason I'm here. Like, let's try, right? Like, it burns down anyway. Let's try something. But see how it goes. Oh, I see what you're saying there, Jeff. Yeah, I meant the reason for all the comic book movies is caused by arrested development, not wanting to grow up. Yeah, we just don't grow up. Like, we and the people that we're like listening to, who are like giving us encouragement, when you actually listen to them and you actually decipher what it is they're saying, you realize very quickly that like they're just kids that never grew up. Like, people like Jordan Peterson, like, he's just a kid that never grew up, right? Girls are smelly, boys are the best, right? Like, just like, oh, that's weird, I don't like that. No, I did it. I worked hard. I did it. No, I don't want to eat my vegetables, right? Like, that's Jordan Peterson. He's just a little kid that never grew up. I think he's probably about 12, right? And since he fell into his coma, because he doesn't know how to eat vegetables, and then came out, I feel like he's kind of grown up a little. I listen to him talk now, and I'm like seeing a bit more like a 14-year-old, right? Who's like kind of willing to admit that, I guess, sure, maybe we should probably give a shit about one another, right? But it's very begrudging and sort of in that sort of puberty sort of sense. Did you hear about a heckler interrupting Trudeau today during a speech, calling him a traitor to Canadians. Well, let's see if we can find that video. There's a great video. Trudeau heckle. Yeah, let's see that. I could really use... look good, feel good, see amazing. Oh yeah, capitalism. Get fucked.
Here.
Hi, my name is Kira. I'm here from the Guelph Constituency Youth Council. My question is, how does the government buying the Trans Mountain Pipeline play into government's climate change action plan?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm going to start with something basic.
So, that is a great question, right? That is a great question because it reveals his total and utter hypocrisy. And his answer is going to be total bullshit. Let's listen to his bullshit answer, and then I'm going to shit on his bullshit answer.
I think we all can agree on. Climate change is real and must be fought.
The leader of your country feels that it's necessary to make that statement. It's terrifying. Like, and everybody is like, yeah, that's right. Looking at one another being like, right? Like, that's where we're at. Jesus Christ.
And it's not just on a basis of protecting the environment for future generations, although that should be a key element, that should be enough to act on it. But it's also that we understand that the only way to build a strong economy for the future.
Fuck you. Fuck you. When liberals and conservatives talk about the economy, they talk about they are talking about maintaining hereditary wealth. They're talking about David Thompson, James Pattison, Joseph Tsai, the Galens, the Irvings, right? Those are the people they're talking about when they say the economy, right? The economy is a propaganda term. It has become a propaganda term because they know that when they say the economy, people think, oh, like my job, right? And my connection to my neighbor or any of that kind of stuff. It completely has nothing to do with that. He's explicitly talking about billionaires.
Future. The only way to ensure good jobs in the future.
And look how he just pushes aside yeah, we need to protect the environment for future generations. But billionaires, right? Don't you care about the billionaires? And jobs, don't you want to work for billionaires? Don't you want to keep working for these sociopathic child rapists? Come on, guys. You gotta keep working jobs you hate for sociopathic child rapists.
Is to make sure we are fighting climate change, that we are protecting our environment, we are protecting the ecosystem services that our communities, our society relies on. We need to move towards a lower carbon economy. There is no question about that. And the way we're going to do that is... Sorry. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm busy answering this girl's question. I'm going to come around and maybe I'll be able to answer a question from you. But thank you. Allow me to continue answering her question. Thank you.
He looked really good right there. I got to tell you, Justin Trudeau, man, the one thing that you can't take it away from him. You can't take it away from him. He's well educated. He's well trained. He's very articulate. He looks poised. That's the reason we like him, because he looks like a prince, right? He looks and he acts like a prince, and he handled that situation with grace and dignity. And I bet you anything he's going to come out of this interaction looking great, looking real good.
So we know. We need to go beyond fossil fuels as a source of energy in this country. We are overly reliant on burning fossil fuels, and what that does is releases significant amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. Now, one of the challenges we've had is it has always been free to emit carbon into the atmosphere. There's been no cost on polluting our atmosphere, and that's why we have changed and made sure that pollution is not free anywhere in this country. We've put a price on pollution, and that is a significant step forward that is going to ensure, sorry. Okay. We will come around and be able to answer more questions. This was a question about why are we building a pipeline and why do we buy a pipeline? I suspect that you want to know why we're buying a pipeline. Thank you. I look forward to answering the question then. So, what we are doing...
Right, and the and again, Justin does a really good job of he's so gracious, like he is just as a person, right? He's so just gracious and magnanimous, and he really loves these rallies. He really does. He loves that everyone is surrounding him and looking at him and all this kind of stuff. And he's really handling this really, really well, and the audience is really like appreciative of it.
What we're doing is
because like. I do think Canadians, people are actually tired of the divisiveness, right? And this is something I get pushback on myself from people, that I get accused of being divisive because I call sociopathic capitalist child rapists sociopathic capitalist child rapists, which they are, right? To me, that's black and white. Like, I don't think that's divisive. I think that's just stating the facts. And so when Justin Trudeau comes out and he's so gracious and poised, I think people really respond to that.
On reducing our carbon emissions. Now, we're not going to be able to eliminate oil and gas anytime soon. Our economy is significantly reliant on that. Yes, we're investing in renewables, we're investing in wind, we're investing in solar, we're looking at all sorts of different alternatives, but for the foreseeable future, we will continue to require oil and gas. We are phasing out coal, which is a big step, but we are going to be continuing to rely on oil and gas. Now, we've done significant things to encourage greater efficiency, more cleaner development.
This is Justin Trudeau's role, right? What you're seeing him do here. This is why the power structure really likes him, is that because he's so gracious and because he's so elocucious and because he's so like magnanimous and all these like brilliant words that you can put onto him, he can break the bad news in a way that will make you accept it. You'll be like, oh yeah, I guess we will be dependent on fossil fuels for a time. Yeah, we can't just pull the switch or anything. So, oh, and I guess they are trying to do things, you know, like ban straws.
Of oil and gas, but we are going to require oil and gas for a while still. Therefore, what we need to do is figure out how to move forward. Sorry.
Does this guy get a mic? He's got to get a mic at some point. Oh yeah, we can't hear this.
Thank you.
Does she get a?
I believe the young woman's question was exactly that. Was how are we buying a pipeline? How are we buying a pipeline
like
if we're trying to defend
soon right here.
Fight a climate change? Sirs, yes.
Okay.
What I'm going to do in this class.
Okay. I feel like point landed. I'm spending too much time on this. Like, I'm glad that people are standing up and shouting at Trudeau. Like, because that's what's got to happen, right? That's what's got to happen. Like, this is the thing about the Liberals, is that they're very assiduous liars, right? They know how to lie really well. And the best way to lie is to tell the truth, but then funnel it ever so slightly towards the lie, right? And he's correct when he says we can't just pull a switch and we got to, but like, we could move much more rapidly than this. We can move much more rapidly than this. So, and if people keep screaming at him and then they stop voting for him, guess what? He's going to start moving faster. Anyway, I spent too much time on that one. I just love looking at Justin Trudeau. That's all it is. If no one ever made a reboot of anything, the world would be a better place. For sure, Robin. For sure. We're caught in like a cultural, like, Jeff, you used the phrase arrested development, but like, we're caught in a cultural feedback loop where it's like we're iterating on these ideas that we had when we were like little kids, right? Like, here's an admission. I absolutely love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are like my favorite, absolute favorite media. And even those guys, I'm getting to be like, okay, we're doing this too much. Like too many new iterations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, we don't need another iteration of this, right? Make something different. Make something new. The problem is that if the reason we can't advance as a culture and the reason why we're caught in this feedback loop, truthfully, is because if art is to make something new, it fundamentally begins to criticize the society that it lives in. And no capitalist is going to actively fund a critique of capitalism, right? And things slip through. Like, things slip through. Like, I'd say a Parasite was a slip through. Joker was a slip through, right? That the capitalists can't maintain that forever. That eventually the demand will bubble up and people will just make it, and it'll just happen in spite of the capitalists. But the capitalists are going to do everything they can to just be like, put us in this cultural feedback loop, put us back to when we were little kids, right? Yeah, we've run out of ideas in other areas. Why wouldn't we also run out of ideas in art? For sure. For sure. Oh, are you telling me that whole time I was watching that, it was the old video? Bollocks! Now you... Okay. Oh! Oh, you're... Oh! Ugh. Okay, it doesn't look like it's breaking through, so I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Ugh, I'm so mad. I don't know what happened to parents. I never gave in. There was no exception. They earned everything or they wouldn't have learned anything. I gave what was necessary. Yeah. Yeah, that's not heckling. That's stating the obvious. Yeah. They should take Prime Minister and premiers into Kamloops and leave them there so they can get it and are terrified instead of watching it on TV. Yeah, yeah. I wish that there would have been less during the pandemic, but at some point you have to answer the false narratives. Yeah. The art of the answer. I like that. The art of the answer. They steal instead of imagining something new. Yeah, yeah. But it's all that they've got left, right? That the capitalists are out of ideas, and also part of it is you got to remember, like, who actually has the wealth? Well, it's older people, right? And so if you come at these older people with like crazy new ideas, like when the whole Marvel thing began, it was actually very difficult to convince these wealthy old guys to invest in it, right? I remember this when it was first starting, and I remember like when it was first starting, I was still like in my early 20s, and so I was like still kind of gung-ho about it, and I would like really follow it, and it was really clear that like this older generation that had all the money was just very much like, no, that's not a thing. Like, comic books, no, that's for, like, what are you talking about? And then very steadily it kind of snowballed and it became its own thing. And it was really when Marvel created its own studios, right? When Marvel created its own studio, that's when the whole thing blew up. Because now Marvel they had the money. They didn't need to ask permission to like Harvey Weinstein, right? They didn't need to ask permission to these guys. They just did it. And I feel like that's still going on. That like if somebody were to show up and pitch an idea, and they were like a new creator, and the idea sounded weird and odd, as lots of new ideas often do, then they're not going to get the funding, right? They're not going to get the funding, and then you end up with like. Finally, they do manage to cobble it together and they create something, and it's brilliant and it's genius, right? But you got to actually like create something. People eating with a dead body in the background of Mexico. I'm not going to show that, but that's gross. At Amazon, you better not think about packing up early.
9:59. Not 10 o'clock, guys. Nobody can go to break. If you're on your way to break, you are getting COD as we speak. Okay. So you know. Okay, guys, nobody should be looking at their station until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock is break time, not 9:59. Nobody needs to leave their station until 10 o'clock. Thank you, guys.
I should save this video, and the next time anybody tries to tell me about like Chinese propaganda or something, I can just be like, okay, here's a video for you. Literally, it's 9:59. Your shift ends at 10 o'clock. That's creepy. That's like creepy dystopian evil shit. Like, you're bitching about a minute. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, we all know what's wrong. Like, it's capitalism. If you're 20 to 30 and your main circle isn't discussing capital, delocation, homelessness and unemployment, working class solidarity, Marxist-Leninist theory, computer plan socialism, then it's time to find a new circle. Your comrades are your comparty. I saw a CEO arrange her app folders as affirmations, so I decided to do the same. I am rich. I am healthy. I am educated. I am blessed. I am productive. I am learning. I am connected. Oh my God. Oh my God. And this is what CEOs would consider work. I arranged my apps today. I'm a CEO. I work hard. Oh, Jeff's doing the Lord's work. Oh, it's one of these. Let's go.
The Fox Group meeting is going to be on this afternoon. How we can be there to help, and we will continue to be there.
Bye, everybody else.
Nous allons être là pour aider en Colombie-Britannique et à travers le pays. Nous allons être partenaires au gouvernement provincial. On a parlé avec le premier ministre Organ, on a parlé avec les ministres impliqués. Nous allons continuer d'être là pour aider à Lytton et partout à travers la Colombie-Britannique et l'Ouest canadien. C'est pour ça qu'on va se rencontrer en tant que ministre cet après-midi.
Yeah, again, it's the same thing I was saying before. Trudeau looks good. He looks good there, right? That the general populace is going to walk away from that. Yeah, thanks for putting that there, Jeff. That's really nice. But I do think the general populace is going to walk away from a video like that being like, ha, some fucking idiot. Ha, just like, bah, ha. Because, you know, oh, hey, did you see? Did you see there was a guy? He was heckling Trudeau. He heckling the prime minister, eh? I don't think that's right to do. I don't think that you should heckle that he's the leader of Canada, you know? He's our commander in chief. Oh no, man, that's American. We're Canadian. Oh, I know. I'm just saying that, you know, he's our commander in chief and we should respect him. We shouldn't be heckling him while he's trying to tell us about what's going on, you know? Yeah, I know, eh? It's you know, it's okay to disagree with the prime minister and all, but, you know, you should do it at the ballot box, you know? The ballot box is the only place that we should actually engage politically, you know, eh? Right? Yeah, that's right, eh? That's the base. Yeah, you know what I miss is when politicians get pies in the face. Yeah. He was being made fun of for shaving his beard. Yeah. He loves costumes, eh? Trudeau is just a big fan of, like, he loves changing his look up. I really like that about him. I actually really do like this about him, that he really loves costumes. It's so obvious. Like, remember when he first got into office and he went on, like, the world tour and met all the world leaders? And he was in a different costume every time. That he was actually in, like, a Japanese kimono when he was in Japan. He was, like, in an Indian, like, I forget what that's called, but the wrap. He goes and talks to, like, First Nations people and they get him in, like, the buffalo stuff. You'd never see Harper doing that. When Harper showed up at places, he was wearing a nice-looking blue suit with a good, strong blue tie, right? And his hair was always just sort of like this, and always shaking a guy's hand. That was Harper, right? Just straight edge. But Trudeau loves costumes, right? That's why I think people did forgive him for the blackface scandal. Because I think that we just intrinsically knew that he loves costumes, right? And so it just made sense in our minds that he showed up wearing the Aladdin costume, right? Which was a great costume, right? Like Trudeau's Aladdin. Yeah. They know what I'm looking for. This is a great costume. right? He looks so good here in terms of the costume, right? The hat, the feather, like the garb, the whole thing, and it just makes sense to us that we would see him like put all of that on and look in the mirror and just be like, yeah, something's missing. and so I feel like that's we forgave him for it, and we've clearly forgotten. Like, we've clearly forgotten about this. It's not in the discourse at all. And like, this isn't even the worst. The worst is his actual blackface, right? Blackface Trudeau. It's this picture. And this picture is actually the more difficult picture to find. And there are actually high-res versions of this. Like, and Trudeau was going out in front of a school singing Deo in blackface in front of his parents, no less, while his father was the prime minister, right? He was doing this shit. And it's like, that indicates like a whole culture. Like, you're telling me that the prime minister was sitting in a school while his son was in blackface singing Deo. And like, nobody at any point thought to themselves, maybe this will be an international scandal at some point. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe, whoa, hold on. Son of Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Maybe don't go out on stage and sing Deo in blackface. Just maybe not. Nope. Just not even part of the discourse, right? So, Justin Trudeau, he loves costumes. We love him for that. And his favorite costume to wear is the costume of Prime Minister, right? Like, after the blackface scandal, well, that's when he grew the beard, right? He grows the beard after the blackface scandal to show Canada that he's matured. That now he's got this salt and pepper beard. And he's like, I'm an older man now. I'm wiser. I've learned. I've asked Canada for forgiveness, and Canada gave me a little slap on the wrist and gave me a minority government. That's my favorite joke, right? Trudeau came out in blackface, and we put him where he wanted to be, which is in a minority. And what the heck was I saying? Right, so he comes out with the salt and pepper beard to be like, I've matured, and then like, it's the pandemic, and so his hair is all floofy and long to be like, I'm just like you, commoners. Look, I'm just like you. I'm not getting a haircut every day, commoners. My hair is long, like your hair is long. I am of the common folk. And now, like, he's heading into election season, so he's getting us used to, like, clean-shaven, like, standard Trudeau, right? Standard Trudeau. And, like, this is standard Trudeau.
Meeting is going to be on
this is like base Trudeau. He's got the rolled up sleeves to indicate that he's working, even though he's never worked a day in his fucking life, right? Like, standard Trudeau. And he'll go into this new election, and we'll all be like, standard Trudeau. That's great, and he'll probably look good. And I hope we don't give him a majority. I'm thinking that we're going to end up with another minority. I think that the minority situation, Canadians are rather fond of minorities, and so, and I think there's going to be hopefully there's going to be a big push from the left as the right collapses, and the right is collapsing, like. Aaron O'Toole cannot get a break, man, and he keeps just stepping on it. He just keeps stepping on it. Like, what was the most recent one? It was he came out and did a speech about something, and most Canadians were like, nah, that's dumb, right? Even his own base. So, like, Aaron O'Toole, his popularity is in decline. People who, less people are saying that they intend to vote Conservative. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pull that up. And when the right starts to get soft, like it does, that's when that's when people start taking the left more seriously, because the narrative of, oh, I've got to go liberal or else the conservatives will win, stops to it doesn't hold as much weight any longer. So we're not going to get an NDP minority. I would be blown away if we got an NDP minority. I would be don't get me wrong, I would be happy to see that just as a change, but I don't think we're going to see an NDP minority. I think at this stage in the game, we should be expecting a liberal. Honestly, at this stage in the game, we should be expecting a liberal majority, and we should be hoping for a liberal minority. Like, that the path to a minority liberal government is more realistic than the path to an NDP minority. But don't get me wrong, I'm right there with you. I would absolutely love it. Yeah, and you're right about this, Onward. You grew up in the rural South, didn't know what blackface was until you were in your 20s. This seems like something the rich do. Yeah, I think you're... Well, because the rich were the slave owners, right? Of course, that's something the rich does. I see where you're going with that, DM. I think it depends on how far he gets, right? That if he does grow the party, like, because there's a difference, like, how many seats do they have right now? How many seats does the NDP have right now? Seats in the House of Parliament, Canada. So, like, and this is essentially, this is all, what the heck am I even looking at? This is not what I wanted. I bet you if I just go images, I'm going to see it right away. Oh, and now they're just like, no, you want to see the House of Parliament. No, you dumb. House of Commons. This is going to do it. Yeah, there we go. So right now the NDP have 24 seats. So if Jagmeet can even get that to like 30, right? If Jagmeet can get that to even 30, I think he stays the course. If he loses more seats, absolutely, yeah. I don't think there's been a leader in modern politics that has lost seats and maintained. Like, Pierre Elliott Trudeau literally, like, lost an election and then they kept him as the leader. That tells you how good he was as a politician, right? And there's always reasons. Like, I shouldn't say that it's never happened, because Alberta, Rachel Notley loses the election, right? But she's still the leader. And it's because her base understands the conditions, right? That she won the first time because the right collapsed and split. So she comes up the middle and wins, right? And then the right recoalesces, and then they beat Rachel Notley because they've coalesced. But this group is still like, but we're still good. Like, we're still strong. We're with you, Rachel. We're with you. And it looks like that's a winning strategy. It looks like that Kenny is kind of going like, nah, and that Rachel's going to come on up. So, and I feel like that's kind of what happened with Pierre Elliott Trudeau a little bit too. But yes, if Jagmeet Singh cannot grow the party, if the party shrinks, yeah, he's got to go. But even if he can grow the party, right? Even if he grows the party, I think that's going to be enough for the NDP, because Jagmeet is rather popular. He has high favorability. If the coming election was based strictly on favorability, if it was literally just like, which one of these guys do you like the best, Jagmeet Singh would win. And not by small margins. He would win handily. So people are very favorable of Jagmeet Singh. I think people really like Jagmeet Singh, generally. And I think it's because, like, when he speaks, he's articulate. He especially as he's gotten a bit older. Like, when he was a bit younger, like when he was first starting out, he kind of had a surfer dude way about him, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like, hey, brah, let's go. I'm going to be the leader of the country, brah. You know, vote for me. I'm Jagmeet, yo. But as he's gotten older, and I also bet you he's been taking some elocution lessons. I'd be very surprised to find out that Jagmeet Singh wasn't taking some elocution lessons. He's gotten, like, the way he talks has gotten more adult. That's just it, more adult. And I think that's also because he is more of an adult. His beard has got a salt and pepper kind of thing now. He's gotten a bit older. And and I say this every time I talk about Jagmeet Singh, but it must be said, I think that Canadians are largely finally over the turban. I think we finally got there. That we weren't there last election, but now we're used to it now. We just finally are like, I really do think the position of most white Canadians now is, well, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand it, but he thinks that he should do it, and so if he thinks it's important, and he's really sticking with it, and there's something to that. There's something to be said about that, that he thinks it's good to do, and he believes in it, and it's just part of his faith, and it's just part of who he is. I can respect that. I can respect that, and that's kind of where Canadians are landing, which I think that's the best Jagmeet's ever going to get, which is good enough. Frankly, it's just good enough, and in the best case scenario in that regard, I think that, and I do think that there are people, and surprisingly, there are conservative types who I've spoken with, who are really, they're actually quite impressed. They're actually quite impressed that it speaks to Jagmeet's character somehow. That they're like, well, not somehow, but like we know exactly how. That it's like he faced this sort of overwhelming push to get rid of the turban, and he wouldn't do it. That's a man of principles. You can really see like a Ron Swanson type just being like, that's a man of principles. That's a man of principles, And so I think that there's like a quiet respect for Jagmeet Singh, even amongst conservatives. And the question now isn't like this weird turban conversation. It's policy, and it's are the NDP policies going to be good? But yes, and I think that the NDP have a lot of potential in this election. I think that conservative support is collapsing. It's getting very soft. People are getting very suspicious of the Conservatives, and rightfully so. Like, the ejection of Derek Sloan was not a small thing. It was literally the admission by the Conservative caucus that there are fascists in their midst. You can't ignore that. You can't. And then standing up and refusing to declare the existence of climate change, that's saying that climate change is not real, that's actually a very big moment. And I really do think, especially like with what's going on, like, so conservative support is in decline. All the polls are indicating this. O'Toole's favorability is just going right into the toilet. So that support is weakening. And it's not like the Liberal support is like yay Trudeau, right? That he does well in terms of like overall favorability, but when you actually break down his favorability, it's very soft, right? That like that Jagmeet's favorability is more like, yeah, Jagmeet, whereas Trudeau's favorability is more like, yeah, Trudeau, at least he's not a fucking conservative. He's not like Scheer, right? Oh yeah. Right? Like, that's not really where you want to be as a leader. You don't really want people to be like, yeah, he's better than Scheer. Like, that's not really where you want to be. So I think the NDP do have a lot of potential, and in my view, it's completely up to them now. That it really is their ball to run with, and they can run a good campaign and actually put forward ideas and galvanize the energy that exists not only within their base, but obviously within the culture, or they can run a Tom Mulcair campaign and completely fuck it up. Up to them. So we'll see, but the potential is there. There's reason to be hopeful. And wouldn't be too surprised to see like Liberals even dip a little bit, Conservatives dip a little bit, and the New Democrats pick up some of that, right? Poor little Greens. Yeah. It was a sad day when Jack Layton passed on, man. I have absolutely no evidence to back this claim up, but I would not be blown away if like some document got declassified and it turned out that somebody was shooting him with like a cancer gun. If somebody was shooting Jack Layton with a cancer gun, I'd be like, yeah, makes sense, right? Just like he's a non, not necessarily an outsider. Like ultimately, Jack Layton, I think, would have done what the neoliberals wanted, but he was sort of a wild card in that regard. Whereas somebody like Trudeau was groomed for this, right? He was groomed for this. He's going to do what the neoliberals want all the way. And like the conservatives are neoliberals. Like they are capital. So, but Jack Layton, who knows? So, don't be too surprised if Jagmeet Singh, if he starts to pick up a whole bunch of seats, he suddenly gets some kind of cancer as well. The technology exists. We know it does. This seems like a fine time to say, please like, share, subscribe. If you have not yet donated to my Patreon, please consider donating to my Patreon. Even $1 matters, guys. Even $1 matters. And if you are a donator, you're donating $1, please do think about just upping that even to $2, right? Every little bit helps. Don't break your bank. I don't want to put undue pressure on you guys, but at least hit the like button, at least subscribe, at least share it around. That's all free to do. Just costs your time. And if you're willing to waste your time with me, everyone should have the right to reside in habitable parts of the planet. The countries that have caused this crisis have a responsibility to resettle climate refugees, and fossil finance should be expropriated to pay for it. Yeah, none of that's going to happen, right? Like, that's going to happen like the restitution to black people in America is going to happen, right? Like, donut chain fires Portland workers who walked out of its 96-degree store during heat wave. I think that's actually illegal. Like, you are... every labor code in North America... every labor code lets you walk out of an unsafe environment, without exception. And if what donut chain is this? Probably like Dunkin' Donuts, right? Workers walked out of. Why are you not giving us the name of the donut place, man? Why aren't you giving us the name of the donut place? Here you go. 3 employees at the downtown Portland Voodoo Donut location. Okay, so it's just some like assholes, right? It's not like corporate. Like, the one thing about corporate that I definitely know, they will stick to the letter of the law. They will absolutely stick to the letter of the law. And of course, they're the ones writing the law, so... But they're not going to do dumb shit like this. Like, this is just dumb shit. These guys are... these Portland Voodoo Donut guys are going to lose a lot of money. Because you fired people after they walked out of an unsafe work environment. Yeah, okay. Cut them a check. Police lay charges after multiple fires set on Siksika Reserve. Ah, fucking dumb. That's so fucking dumb. Why are you lighting fires? Why are you lighting fires? Federal minimum wage, $15 an hour, to come into effect on December 29th, 2021. Ooh. If the minimum wage had have kept up with productivity, the minimum wage would be $25. This fight for 15 stuff, while it was successful, was begging for scraps. It always was. It was just begging for scraps. And the people who are pushing against minimum wages are dumb. They're just dumb. Their arguments don't work. They fail on the face of it. The idea that, like, oh, if you raise the minimum wage, then I'm going to have to shut down. So wait, you're telling me that you now currently live in a society where everyone has much more money, but you need to shut down because you have to raise wages by a small percentage of the amount of money that is increasing in the society. That means that your business is a failure already. Yeah, $15 isn't nearly enough. Of course it isn't. Like, maybe it was enough when they began the conversation, but with inflation and with how everything has gone and with the rise in productivity and all of that, no. If productivity and wages had have remained linked, the minimum wage would be $25. We're fighting for scraps, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why we're approaching this as like a negotiation where we beg for scraps. Like, we should be dictating terms, and if the capitalists won't meet them, then we should be saying, let's get rid of the capitalists, right? That's how we should be negotiating. I don't understand why we're negotiating from this position of weakness. I don't understand why we're going like, please, Mr. Capitalist, sir, can I please have enough to just pay for food and shelter while I waste my life doing all your work for you? Like, that's fucking stupid. We should begin with, hey, we could just get rid of these capitalists. That's where we should start, and then they need to negotiate with us, right? When the libs finally introduced something, that's how you know you needed it 5 to 10 years ago, yeah? Well, and the liberals are super, super good at being like, yeah, we'll do that, and then they don't. And then next election they run on the same thing. And everybody goes like, yeah, they'll do it this time. Like pharmacare, right? They've been running on pharmacare for 20 years. They're never going to do that. Well, and why are we talking about a living wage? Why are we not talking about a thriving wage? Why are we accepting just the bare base necessities, right? Fuck that. Fuck these capitalists. Like, our position should be, these guys are sociopaths. They should not be involved in the discourse. We should get rid of them. And then see what they have to say about that. They'll say things like, well, then we'll just leave. And we'll be like, great, that's what we would prefer. Yeah, people don't have enough savings to go on strike. And that's a tactic by the capitalist class, right? Keep people poor so they can't stop working, right? While they grind the whole society into the earth. Which is why something like a basic income is actually extremely scary for the capitalist class. Because while there are certainly arguments against it, right, and salient arguments, there are also arguments that say, like, if you give people a basic income, they will politically organize. Like, and we should. We should politically organize. Like, these capitalists are psychopaths. Like, we've got to get rid of them. Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba. I love that name, Lumumba. That's such a cool name. Patrice Lumumba. That's such a badass name. Don't you think? Like, Patrice Lumumba. Oof. Yeah, I'm never going to mess with a guy with that name. That's awesome. Born on this day in 1925, was a Congolese anti-colonial revolutionary who served as the first prime minister of the independent Democratic Republic of the Congo from June until shortly before his assassination in 1961. Fucking A. Yeah, student debt is also a form of control. You're absolutely right about that. And the idea that they're not getting rid of student debt, like, from any metric, there isn't a single metric that says that student debt is successful. Student debt is a complete and total failure from any metric you look at it from, and yet we can't get rid of it. So it's obviously just a form of control. And it's much worse in the States. Like, here in Canada, you can bankrupt out of your student debt. Not so in the United States. In the age of corporate surveillance, you can now pay for your own 24/7 surveillance system. Yeah. Newfoundland wrong to double down on fossil fuels with offshore subsidies, researchers say. Yeah, well, the Irvings are over there, right? Like, the Irvings, for those of you who don't know, the Irvings own New Brunswick, right? Like, they own New Brunswick. You can't work a job without working for the Irvings in some capacity in New Brunswick. It's not possible. That when I was in Moncton attempting to get a job, I found it very difficult to find a job where I wasn't directly connected to the Irvings. And I was actually quite fortunate because the toy store chain that I was working for in Toronto actually opened a store in Moncton, so I was able to get in there pretty easily. I was very lucky. So I'm not that surprised. Like, the Irvings, like, they own New Brunswick, so they have big influence throughout Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador, right? So of course they're pushing forward this kind of legislation. Like, this is why billionaires are dangerous, right? This is why billionaires are dangerous. Because a single billionaire will, just by the force of their existence, reconfigure the society, right? Funny how the government says the poverty line is $35,000 or below per year, yet does nothing to implement legislation to increase minimum wage to address that. Yeah, like, and the liberals, I feel, from the capitalist perspective, made a big mistake passing the CERB, right? Because the passage of the CERB showed everybody, oh, they could have done this at any moment, right? That the whole like this takes a long time narrative, like the people who are saying like no this is actually difficult to implement, it takes a long time. They look like assholes now. Like when they say that, they look stupid. They look like they're defending reefer madness, like that, and that's what I say to them. I'm just like, you sound like you're defending reefer madness. Like that's how stupid you sound, because like they passed it in a week. They passed the CERB. It obviously can be done. It's obvious that they could do this. It wouldn't take them any time at all, and it's very clear that they're just dicking around, right? And the only people who believe otherwise are just deluded idiots, right? They could pass a basic income. They could give everybody $2,000. They could do it this week. They could just pass that legislation. Just through it goes. The Senate has sent them a letter saying that they should do it, right? Literally every professional organization, the doctors of Ontario, the doctors of New Brunswick, the doctors of Nova Scotia, the Atlantic doctors, the doctors of British Columbia, the doctors, like all of the medical professionals are saying you should pass a basic income. Every mayor of every major city is saying pass a basic income, including John Tory. Like everybody is saying pass a basic income. That you will be extremely hard pressed to find somebody who is saying we shouldn't be passing a basic income outside of like the Conservative caucus, and they're not doing it, right? Like it's an embarrassment. It's embarrassing because there's obviously only one reason they're not passing it, and it's because their sociopathic owners don't want it. That's it. So my position on the Liberals is very clear. If you're voting Liberal, you're stupid. Right? Like, you're stupid. Like, you could maybe put in, like, that like, oh, if I don't vote Liberal, then the Conservative gets in, but my argument has steadily become so what? Oh, so the Conservative gets in instead of the Liberal. They're the same. Like, they're the same. How are they different? Like, they vote the same for economic issues. They vote the same way. They do the same stuff. Like, why? Who gives a shit if it's wearing blue or red? They're the same. The only difference is that the Liberals will wave a little pride flag in your face while they impoverish you, right? Like, yeah, you can be gay while you live on the streets. Gay homeless people, liberalism. Like, progressive groups gather support for $6 trillion plus. Bigger than Biden budget bill. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Biden's bill is essentially a handout to corporate capitalism again. It's just more of the same trickle-down bullshit. Give big corporate entities more money. They'll just jam it into offshore accounts, do buybacks, give their CEOs raises, tell the workers to get fucked. And like, as often as I say, like, we need to have general strikes and all this kind of stuff, like, the capitalists themselves are doing a pretty good job of collapsing the system, right? Like, if nobody can afford the stuff they make, right? If nobody can afford the stuff they make, that's it. Capitalism's over, right? And that's what the capitalists are doing. That's why the system is failing, because the capitalists refuse to actually pay wages and refuse to actually let people have money. And that ultimately means that they can't be part of the system. So the capitalists are the ones who are actually collapsing the system the most effectively, right? Like, as much as like we like to say, like, yeah, big strikes and a push and all that should be done and we should have a rebellion, the capitalists themselves are the ones that are going to collapse this thing. We just need to get organized to be prepared for it. The next economic collapse that happens in America, and it's going to happen sooner than we like, is going to be vicious. It's going to be vicious. It's going to bring down the whole economy. It could bring down the dollar, right? It could bring the whole thing right down to its knees, and that's going to have profound effects on the military, right? That they're not going to be able to maintain the military adventurism that they've been doing, right? Which could spell disaster for all kinds of plans that they have, right? Including their plan to mess with China, like. The next economic collapse that is going to happen, it's we're talking about like the Great Depression. Like, we're talking about just like an absolute ripping through of the United States. That they're not going to recover from. Like, that they're not going to recover from. U.S. versus China, the Taiwan issue.
Contrary to popular...
Nah. In my view, there really isn't much of a Taiwan issue. Like, the more research I do, the more I see that it is extremely stupid to say that Taiwan is not part of China. It obviously is part of China. That people will say, well, Taiwan and China have never really ever like signed a thing that explicitly says that Taiwan is China. It's like, dude, Taiwan, before the Communist Party of China came along, Taiwan literally ruled China. Like, they called themselves the Republic of China, right? That's what Taiwan called itself. Like, what are you talking about? It's not part of China. Like, it always has been, right? It's where the ruling class of China lived for the longest time. And now the communists came in and took over, and now you're telling me, no, Taiwan, yeah, we're not part of China. No, yeah, it says Republic of China on all our stuff, but forget about that. No, I think that's a really dumb position. Like, that's literally the only reason Taiwan is saying that is because the United States is courting them, right? That's it. But like, that would be like going if the United States started to court like PEI. And Prince Edward Island was like, well, we've never explicitly actually been part of Canada. Right. Canadian trader charged with $3.6 million fraud scheme by the DOJ. Oh yeah, okay. So it's a $3.6 million fraud scheme. He'll probably have to pay back like $500,000. Maybe do a year in jail, and then he'll walk away with $2.6 million. It pays to do fraud. Homeless person playing VR on a San Francisco street, charging it via outdoor tree lights. The future is wild, eh? Isn't the future whack? What a strange world we live in, man. Where there's gonna be like homeless people with gadgets. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here we go. Magnificent. This has to be British Columbia, right? Do we have anybody from British Columbia in the chat? If so, do you know where this is? I think we do. Somebody was saying they got Wigwith. Are you around? Do you know where this is? Beautiful shot. Love the skyscape. The sun just sort of like a little bit of light right in the background there. The mountains are glorious, man. I have this clear memory because my family would drive to Banff. We would drive to Banff from Manitoba. So we would start here and we would just start driving, go across the prairies. And there was always this moment where we would be in Alberta and we'd stop and visit family and all that, but we'd be like in Alberta and we could see the mountain in the distance. And I would think to myself, oh, thank God we're almost there. There's the mountain. I can see it in the distance. But when you don't really understand how big a mountain actually is, so it's like you can see it, but it's going to be a while. It's going to take a moment before you even get to it. What great trips those were. What great trips those were. Love me a road trip. Pay a decent salary? No, get a robot. Restaurants are starting to hire robots instead of people who are demanding higher pay. Yeah. As we've been saying the whole time, right? That automation has already been happening, right? Automation it's like reason number 3 why we need to have a basic income. Because if we don't actually pay people to just be alive, then it's going to spread a lot of suffering. Oh, National Observer, catching up. Climate change is killing us. Oh, can I not get... I can't see the article, you guys. I can't see the article. How about that, though? Nope. Blank. A day after China calls for UN investigation into Canada's treatment of First Nations people, yeah. Remains of seven. This was the biggest one. This was a big one. 751. This wiped me out. The day I heard this, it wiped me out. It was just like, that's insane to think about. Like, imagine being the director of such a place. Like, imagine being the leader of such an organization that was doing this. Like, 751 is a lot. That's a lot. And, like, that means that they had a system in place. They had a system of disposal in place to get rid of these corpses that they were generating. And they took them, and, like, at no point, not when they were putting down the 100th, not when they were putting down the 300th, the 500th, the 700th, the 751st. At no point did any of these people look at each other and go, are we maybe the bad guys? Are we maybe the bad guys? That this number could have gone it could have gone as high as you can count. It could have gone much, much higher before anybody would have gone, oh, maybe we're the bad guys. Ugh. Why capitalism doesn't work? Oh, response to PragerU. Yeah, okay. PragerU, man. Like, you talk about organizations that need to be put on trial. PragerU, man. PragerU needs to be put on trial. For sure. Unfortunately, in America, you can lie all you want, right? The Supreme Court is basically just like, yeah, lie all you want. Doesn't matter. Free speech, right? Venezuela left perspectives from below. The UN has said that it's the sanctions. That's the only perspective that matters, right? Like, you can critique the Venezuela all you like, but if you're not going to actually admit that the sanctions placed on Venezuela are crushing them, then you're not a serious commentator. Hey Vince, how you doing today, bud? Good to see you. I feel like the chat's kind of run out of steam a little bit. People are going off. Too bad Axel isn't here. He never had any help from anyone. He popped out of the womb and immediately started selling lemonade. Yeah, exactly. Venezuela. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude. I don't know. This raises a really excellent question about, like, capitalists in the chat. I feel like at the end of the day, like, when I reflect on my interactions with Axel, I think I was giving him too much the benefit of the doubt. I should have been breaking his balls more. Like, especially when he was saying things like, I worked hard. Like, everybody works hard, bud. Everybody works hard. It's just that some of us exploit others, right? And he's like, I employ people. I'm a job creator. Like, yeah, bud. There's nothing altruistic about this. We know you're extracting the surplus value of their labor, right? You're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. We know that you're doing it because they're doing work that you don't want to do, and then you take the surplus value of their labor. And, oh, what happens if they suddenly no longer become profitable for you? Oh, you shit can them, right? So spare me this altruistic bullshit. That's the way I should have been talking to that guy. And because capitalists generally, right? Like, just get rid of these fucking guys. No education, no money, no problem. Need books? No worries. Donate plasma. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. I'd be surprised if that was the case. Like, I'm not that important. I'd be flattered. If I found out, if he was like a CSIS guy, or like even just like a Toronto police officer or something, I'd be like, well, look at me, attracting CSIS? Well, yeah. And what's funny about him is I don't like to call, I don't think he was trolling. Like, my perception of it is that he wasn't trolling. Did you hear about the Tucker Carlson NSA spying thing? I think I caught a brief glimpse of this quickly. NSA surveillance. I don't know the story. Tucker Carlson hits back at allegations as spied. So he's claiming that the NSA spied on him. Well, yeah. The NSA spies on everybody. If you've got one of these guys, like if you've got a phone, right? If you've got a phone, they're spying on you, right? If you're connected to the internet, like they're spying on you. Like they're not like put a guy and watch everything spying, but like if suddenly you are in a kerfuffle of some kind and you are in a fight with somebody on the street, they've got you in a cell, and the cops have you, and the NSA shows up, well, they can just pull up all your data that they've collected, and then they can create like an image and a profile from that. They're not like sitting there like spying on you, like looking at you and constantly watching over your shoulder. They're just collecting all your data so that when they want to incriminate you, they can, right? And yeah, literal vampires. What are your thoughts on The Intercept? The Intercept's no longer really a valid news source. It used to be, but they're split with Glenn Greenwald. They came out looking really bad on that end, I think. So I don't really use them as a source anymore, and it seems as though most people agree with that. There seems to be a significant drop-off of trust of The Intercept. Also, Keith Olbermann said that because the NSA is spying on Tucker, Tucker must be an accomplice to Russia. Yeah, of course. But like, Keith Olbermann is he's just as kooky as any QAnon guy, right? He's just Blue Anon, right? He's just a Democrat QAnon guy. Like, he's just as nuts. Like, the whole Russiagate thing is nuts on the face of it, right? Like, it's this classic, like, Russia is no threat to us whatsoever. We're the USA. We're the most powerful, but Russia is able to affect our elections. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, Rachel Maddow, man. My mom and I had a real moment where I was like, Ma, you gotta stop listening to Rachel Maddow. Like, Rachel Maddow, like, she did a great job of convincing people. Like, it was the Jon Stewart crowd, right? She was able to kind of take that Jon Stewart crowd and get her on her side. But she's just nuts now. She's just insane. Someone actually got a little mad at me for not knowing or caring about this Kyle Kalinske. Yeah, there's only you're exactly right on that, Onward, bud. And honestly, the Kyle Kalinske, the Young Turks, Jimmy Dore thing, like that's very like preaching to the choir stuff, right? Like you don't really need to know. You don't really need to know. Like, I feel like you should pay attention to Kyle Kalinske because he's good. And I like Jimmy Dore because I like the people he has on. And I like his sort of expression of genuine rage at the situation. Oh, yeah, dude. What do you want me to look up? It's Friday. We can look at whatever we want. I might actually keep the stream going a bit late tonight. So we'll see how I feel about that when the time comes. But yeah, Rachel Maddow and her fake eyelashes. And she doesn't wear glasses anymore. Remember, she used to have like these fun, kind of kooky glasses? Yeah, we're just fighting amongst ourselves because we lost. Yeah, we don't know what else to do. Can you search on YouTube video, why aren't I 50 points ahead? You got it. You got it. Why? Oh, before I do that, quickly, because there's a bunch of new guys in here, check out this explosion, dude. My favorite part, watch this car. This car, okay? You can watch the explosion if you like, but watch this car. Boom! Fireworks, man. 5,000 pounds of fireworks. No, not a 24-hour stream, Onward. God damn it. Although I could do that. That's the kind of thing I would do for, like, charity. If I ever get up to, like... You know what? If I get up to 1,000 subscribers, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a 24-hour stream. You've convinced me. I stay up 24 hours every so often. I do that. Can you search on YouTube video, why aren't I 50 points ahead. This it? This it? Which one? Which one? Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1, camera 2. It's probably camera 1. Yeah.
The Russians, Putin, Russia. The Kremlin, Putin, and the Russian government.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead?
Russian, Putin, the Russians, Russia, the Kremlin, the Russians, Russia.
That's amazing. I love the internet, man. I love the internet for this, like, the crazy bullshit. Like,
we can do vaccines at this accelerated rate. And
you underestimate me. You underestimate me, friend. I would be most concerned for my voice. That's what I would be most concerned about. Hey, Dan, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Look up, behold this oaf. You got it, bud. Behold this oaf. Oh, I'm on Reddit. Yeah. Oh, okay. This is the chair, right? I haven't even seen it yet. Poor Matt Chrisman.
So I will see the oh my God.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if while I was watching this, my chair collapsed?
Well, there you have it, folks. It finally happened.
Oh yeah. I really like Matt Chrisman, but I can't actually watch his stream, and I think it's because this is going to sound a little floofy, but I think it's absolutely the truth. I think that he's more like an air sign, like he's up in the air more, whereas I'm kind of down on the ground. Like I'm more like earth fire sign, and he's more like air water sign, right? And so when he goes on his tangents, I feel like he's kind of aloof and up in this kind of way, whereas I feel like I'm more entrenched and on the ground, and I do feel this like innate connection to him as a person. Like when I listen to the Chapo Trap House Boys and he talks, I'm like, this guy here, he's got it. I also really like Felix. Felix is really great on that show. But yeah. What and yeah. So don't get me wrong. Like Matt Chrisman, I think he's great and he's a great commentator and he deserves respect as a commentator, especially because he's willing to kind of go into the stratosphere and all this kind of stuff. He'll go down tangents that are unexplored. He'll really take unexplored tangents and make connections that don't otherwise happen. Anybody listen to the late night shows like Jim Richards or George Noory? I have no idea who these people are, dude. Jim Richards? Who's Jim Richards? Jim Richards. Dr. Jim Richards? There's no way this is who you're talking about. George Noory. Oh, is this, I've never seen this guy before. AM 1010. Hey, it's John Sanderson here on JON Radio. All John, all the time. Next up, here's John Sanderson playing John Sanderson's John Sanderson. John Sanderson. Yeah, John Sanderson. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Icalit's mayor wants to tax cities' churches. Yeah, fantastic. Tax exemptions as a whole are supposed to be for groups that do the community good. It's very clear that the Catholic Church hasn't done the community any good. They literally killed thousands of children. Oh yeah, I do that kind of shit all the time. When I'm like tooling around playing with my dog or like messing about, I'll always just be like, this next tune brought to you by John Sanderson here on JON Radio, all John all the time. Next up, John Sanderson singing John Sanderson's John Sanderson. John Sanderson, his name is John Sanderson. That's who you're listening to. Who said that I wouldn't be able to fill up 24 hours? DM, how dare you doubt me? How dare you doubt me? Jim Richards show. Oh, it's a radio show. Oh, okay. No. I do not listen to the radio. I have to be straight with you. Jim Richards here today, AM 1010. Welcome to the late night show with Jim Richards. Today we're going to be playing some smooth jazz here with Jim Richards on Jim Richards' show here on AM 1010 in the evening. How to stop capitalist death cult 101. Be socialist, then communist. Yeah, that's get socialism, then communism. Yeah, those are sort of the vague, broad sweeps. My general opinion at this point is that, like, I don't even think that we should be focusing on like an ism of any sort. Like, we literally should just be saying stop. Just like stop. How to stop a capitalist death cult? Stop participating in it. Just stop. Just put an end to it. Cease. Don't buy their shit. Don't participate. Just stop. And watch them cry, right? Watch them cry. New York City study will give cash payments to homeless young adults. It's actually interesting. It's actually interesting. Just watch, the new mayor will come in and immediately kibosh it. New York will become the latest U.S. city to start a pilot giving a monthly cash payment to residents, joining a growing number of others this year that are trying out guaranteed income experiments. But the city's program is particularly small and focused, giving monthly payments of $1,250 to up to just 40 unhoused people between 18 and 24. This is what the powerful are doing now with this, that they're rolling out, because there's such a high demand for the basic income, they're rolling it out in like studies, and they're doing like, so, oh yeah, we'll study it over the next 4 years, right? Like, and of course something will happen in the midst of that, so they'll just upset the whole thing. And this is just a way to kind of like pat basic income people on the head and be like, look, see, we care. No, that's fucking bullshit. Roll it out. Roll it out. Yeah, just stop. Just stop. You could even have like a stop sign, right? Literally run on a campaign of just stop. Like, stop the madness. Stop. Stop capitalism. Stop. Stop right now. Thank you very much. I need somebody with the human touch. Oh, there's the copyright right there. Oh yeah, right? The rent is too damn high. That guy. What a brilliant... The rent is too damn high. This guy... Wow. Magnificent. Magnificent. This guy needs to make a comeback, man. This guy needs to make a comeback. I loved this guy. He was the best. Oh, there you go. I'm so angry at so many liberals on Reddit arguing with people who still unironically support the liberals in 2021 and are under 40. Yeah, dude, I know. Propaganda works. Propaganda works. And like most people who are like liberals, like, and who are hard liberals, are really only there are really, really only there for the show, right? They don't actually care about the policy. They don't actually care about the economics of the situation. They really only care about the optics, right? And Justin Trudeau is like a beautiful, well-poised, princely sort of a figure in Canadian politics. So like, if all you care about is optics, right? If that's all you care about, and it makes sense that that's all they care about, right? Because that's all they have time for. They literally only have time to like open up the newspaper, look at what the Globe and Mail is saying, right? Close the newspaper and move on, right? That's as connected as they can get. They have no deeper analysis. They certainly don't have an economic analysis, right? Because if they had an economic analysis, they wouldn't be liberals. Because the second you actually have an economic analysis, you have to be a socialist. Because if you have an economic analysis of capitalism, you go, oh, this is a wage slave system. We could do better than this, right? So they're just invested in the optics. Not only that, but also people defend Del Duca, yeah, and Ian Rankin, unironically, like how? They're liberals, they suck. Well, and especially Del Duca. Like, Del Duca is a Wynne toady, right? A McGuinty toady, right? Like, if you hated the Wynne government, if you wanted the Wynne government so gone that you were willing to vote for fucking dumbass Ford, you're not going to turn around and vote Del Duca unless you've got a nail in your fucking head. And the CBC is brainwashing them into that. Yeah, the CBC always defers to the people who are in power, which makes sense because that's where their funding comes from, right? They're not gonna run a campaign against the ruling class, you know. And the conservatives and the liberals, because they're allies, right? They'll always run a campaign in favor of either the conservative or the liberal, right? And that's just kind of naturally how the system is structured. No, I didn't see the Jagmeet interview in April. Well, again, yeah, it makes sense that the CBC is pro-liberal. Like, they're owned by the state, right? They are, and it makes sense that they would do an interview with Jagmeet and that it would be a disaster because Jagmeet is a legitimate threat, right? The NDP, rather, is a legitimate threat. So they need to do everything they can to kind of roll their eyes, right? That's kind of how the ruling class is dealing with the NDP. With this always like, oh, the NDP, eh? Oh, okay. Even though the NDP have been within striking distance of victory on several occasions. Rosemary Barton loves Trudeau so much. It's a little extreme if you ask me. Well, he is very beautiful. Like, he is very beautiful and well articulated. He's a good actor. This is, I love showing this about Trudeau. It's my favorite thing to show about Trudeau. Trudeau falls downstairs. If I ever were to do some kind of like show or some kind of art piece about Justin Trudeau, I absolutely would include this moment.
Trop importante pour prendre
right?
On a un escalier.
I love this moment.
Aucun problème.
No.
You see how young he is here, right? He's a very young man. Okay. So I'm going to show it in full, and then we're going to go through it. I feel like some of you might have already seen me do this. Please. Actually, tell me if you've already seen me do this, and I'll move on.
Comment ça fonctionne? Normalement, je
Check it out.
les gens ici, là, puis je passerais, puis je dis, hey, comment ça va? Oui, c'est vraiment le fun, là.
Right? He literally just threw himself down a flight of stairs. And this is apparently something that he does at parties as like a party trick. And what I love about this, and I saw this when he was in the first election. Like, the first election came up, and the Harpers, the Harper conservatives really touted this. They really sent this around to try and make him look goofy, and it completely backfired on them. It made Justin Trudeau look way more endearing. I think Canadians saw this because you got to remember who your base is, right? Oh, hey, did you see? Justin, he threw himself down a set of stairs. No, he didn't throw himself down a set of stairs. Is he okay? Oh, yeah, eh? He does a really good job of it. You should see. What? Okay. Oh, right? Like, we love it. We love it. And I fell in love with, with Trudeau as a person, not as a politician, as a person. And that's an important distinction, because that's the distinction that liberals don't make, right? Going back to what you were saying about how, like, people are, like, dyed in the wool for him. It's because they've fallen in love with him, right? Because he's a very likable person, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, I really do like Justin Trudeau as a person, right? As a politician, I think he's dud. He's a total just dead in the weight, just read a cue card, right? Like, just be gracious, answer questions, right? But as a person, I actually really like him. I think he's a really good person. And this video is the moment that I was like, oh, but it's for a very specific reason. It's because my background is theater, right? And because my background is theater, I can see what he's doing, right? Because I've been trained to do this kind of stuff as well. And this is actually very advanced and very impressively done. So check it out. And they've got the perfect shot. They really got a good shot of him. So here he goes. So he's going down, right? But look, he's not actually out of control. He's landing right on his hip. So right away, he's landing right on his hip. He's completely in control, right? So he's just collapsing down on the knee and he's landing on his hip, right? So he's on his hip, and look, his hand immediately on the step, right? Perfectly in control, right? The other hand comes down, right? So he's perfectly in control. Other hand comes down, and he's basically just like lowering himself onto the steps. He's lowering himself onto the steps, and look, so now he's rolled onto his elbow. So he's posted on the step, and he's rolling himself on this step, right? He's not clunking down and all this kind of stuff. He's not hitting the corners or the edges. He purposefully lowered himself onto his hip and then leaned himself down with his hands and then rolled himself down onto his elbow, right? And then he's rolling down. Here comes his other elbow to look. He's posted his other elbow, right? So he's braced his other elbow to help him with the roll. And now his knee comes down, right? And look, right here, he completely gives the game away. If you slow it all down, he's on his foot. He's literally on his feet, right? His weight is on his foot. He's in complete control of this. And then he comes down and then he flops. He just flops, completely controlled. He flops and he just collapses downward. He's on his feet and he's completely collapsing downward. And then he rolls down onto his hip and then just lays out, right? And he's in complete control. It's perfectly practiced. He's definitely done this a lot. And look, it looks so good. It looks so good. He's really, really honed and perfected this, and it's very impressive. This is as good as Chevy Chase, as any Steve Martin, any high-level comedian that you've ever seen. This is as good as any of those guys, and it's very impressively done. Like, if you saw that happen in front of your eyes in a theatrical performance or at a party like he does, you would be like, wow, super impressive. And that's the moment I fell in love with Justin Trudeau as a person, because he spent a lot of time honing this, and he's executing it perfectly. Yeah, he wasn't a drama teacher for nothing. Exactly. Like, yeah. Trudeau in 2015 was very charismatic. Well, he is very charismatic. He's a very charismatic person. He's well-trained. I'm glad people see him as the phony he is. Why am all care? Why were you literally up in the poll? Why did you screw up? Because he came out, like, if he had to come out being like, Stephen Harper is not doing what we need for the country, Justin Trudeau is untested, I've been in the House for 20 years, fighting for Canadians and I'm going to fight for you, we would have been like, fuck yeah, Mulcair, right? The fucking DeLuca crowd would have been like, oh, wow, Mulcair. Yeah, he really means it, eh? Yeah, he really means it. I like it. He's you know, when he's going in there and he's going to fight, eh? He's like taking the gloves off and he's really he's like lifting over the jersey and really coming up under him, right? But instead of that, he went like this. I'm Mulcair. You know, healthcare? Mulcair. Right? We're not going to vote for that. Canadians consistently vote for the guy they think is going to win the hockey fight. Jagmeet does have a good aura about him, Ruth. You're absolutely on the money. And the polls show that. The polls show that. His favorability is high. It's the highest of everybody. People like him. People like Jagmeet. Lisa the Flame from City TV is also giddy for Trudeau. Yeah. Everybody, like, I think if you're not, like, if you don't at least respect his game, I don't think that you know what you're talking about. Like, Trudeau is a very likable... like, I mean, look at this guy.
Il a fini un petit peu là, mais pas c'est pas... OK, c'est bon, beau boulot, là.
Look at him.
Ah, puis le micro est
just like...
L'homme sait comment faire une sortie.
Like, look at him. Look, how could you not love this guy? How could you not love this guy, right? Like, he sucks as a politician, but...
We're used to buying everything on...
Nah, go away. Yeah, but hold on, okay? Because, like, Jagmeet lost seats, but, do I still have the... But everybody expected him to, right? First time out, no name, right? Like, nobody knew who this guy was. Turban, brown guy, beard. Everyone expected this. Not one person was sitting there being like, he's going to take the numbers. And you got to remember, like, while Mulcair declined in seats, it wasn't it wasn't like a big culling. And then the NDP had a huge leadership convention, right? There were like 15 people involved in it. And Jagmeet Singh really came in and showed the NDP and Canada exactly how weak the NDP had become. Like, Jagmeet Singh won basically by taking his own base, his own people, and walking in the door and winning, right? Like, that means the NDP is weak. And so what Jagmeet Singh is building now is Jagmeet Singh's NDP. That Tom Mulcair and Jack Layton's NDP is gone. It is Jagmeet Singh's NDP. And it can grow. He can do it. Absolutely. But nobody, I think, expected him to maintain the seats after he won the leadership. But if he doesn't continue to grow the party, if it stagnates now, especially with, like, people don't really like these liberals. People don't really like these conservatives. Like, if he can't grow the party under these circumstances, yeah, the NDP really need to go back to the drawing board. Trudeau comes off as sociopathic to me. I don't think he is. I just think he is that classic, like, he's been groomed for this, right? So he's like the prince, right? Like, I don't think he really understands what homelessness is, right? Like, I genuinely think that's true of him, that he's just so aloof and disconnected from what poverty actually is, and what homelessness actually is, that if he was confronted with it, I don't think he would understand it. Jagmeet better pull out a great campaign hammering on Trudeau's record. I think he will. So far, so good. I am very, very skeptical of Jagmeet when it comes to the UBI. I don't see him hitting on that. He doesn't talk about it. When he does talk about it, it's in, like, the Regina Times, right? Like, he's not... he's already released a couple of ads, and he's not brought up the basic income yet. It hasn't come up. And he'll talk about unemployment and climate change, but I'm not seeing him really visibilize the homeless, right? The homeless have remained invisible in these NDP ads thus far. So and I made a video about that. I'm quite leery of Jagmeet Singh's sort of exclusion of the homeless and the basic income. And the big concern I have about that exclusion is that you've got to remember, these liberals are astute and effective liars. They know how to play this game, and they know how to play these idiots, right? The Dulukuku crowd. They know how to do it. And if the NDP do not run on a basic income, the liberals can outflank them on the left with it. They can literally say, like, look, we've got basic income legislation. It's going through, right? Oh, isn't that convenient that right before the election we're putting through basic income legislation? Yeah. What do you think happens if we get a majority? Do you think that basic income legislation makes it through? Do you think we genuinely push this through? Or do you suddenly think we're like, oh, I guess we just couldn't make it work. Oh, well, sorry, homeless people. Sorry, disableds, right? Good night, Jeff. Have yourself a good day, bud. Thanks for popping in. Thanks. No, don't get me wrong, DM. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not talking about a basic income. I think he only talks about a basic income because his base is talking about a basic income. I don't see him running on a basic income, right? And if everything you're saying is true, DM, then I want to see the ad. That's what I'm saying, right? And I'm not disagreeing with any of that, what you're saying. All I'm saying is that right now, with this election season really ramping up, if the NDP don't actually run ads for a basic income, the Liberals will outflank the NDP, gain their majority with the outflank, and then kill the basic income on the other side of it. That's the Liberal grift, right? Exactly like they did with election reform, right? Exactly like they always do with pharmacare, right? They run on the left and they outflank the NDP. Because the NDP allow themselves to get outflanked. And then when they actually get into power, they're just like, oops, I guess we couldn't figure it out. And yeah, and again, he wanted to convert CERB to UBI. Well, I want to hear him say that. I want to see an ad, and I want to see him say it on the debate stage, right? Because you got to remember, right? Who's the constituency? Oh, hey, the Liberals, yeah, they said they were going to do the basic income, eh? Oh, wow, that's super great. Oh, yeah, that's good news. Basic income from the Liberals, eh? Okay. Well, I was a bit uncertain if I was thinking about maybe NDP, but if the Liberals are going to do a basic income, then I'm going to vote for them for sure. Like, it's 100% what's going to happen. I fear the NDP is becoming the bourgeois educated elite like the libs. Yeah, say words, run on non-economic issues. I worry the NDP won't go down that route. Yeah, that's why I've been calling them orange liberals, right? I've been saying that they seem like orange liberals. I'm not that convinced. Like, I'm convinced that the base is like a young Gen Z socialist, push the party to the left kind of group. I do see that in the base. I do not see that in the leadership. I don't see the leadership itself that way. So I could definitely see them kind of ending up being orange liberals. It should be so easy for the NDP to get the union, labor, 50-plus trades voters. Jagmeet Singh pushing for universal access to the CERB is the title of the video. Yeah, again, like, don't get me wrong, dude. Like, I just want to see the ad. I want to see the ad. I don't want to see the, like, policy conversation. I don't want to see the interview, right? I want to see the ad, right? Because that's actually what the populace is going to see. They're not seeing the conversation with, you know, Andrea Bourgeois or whatever. They're not reading the Regina Times. They're not going to page 58 of Now Magazine or like any of that, right? They're gonna watch a 30-second ad, right? So I want to see the ad. Where's the ad? What I don't understand is how Scarborough, Mississauga, Kitchener vote Conservative. Because there are homeowners. That's why. Right? There are homeowners. And really, like, Conservatives liberals and NDP voters vote for something. Conservatives vote to just keep what they have, right? So if you've got homeowners and the liberal and the NDP look weak, like they're not really offering anything, then the homeowners are going to vote conservative because all they care about is just keep things how they are, right? Keep things how they are. Yep, we own houses. I want low taxes. Keep things how they are. Things worked out for me, right? And if the liberals and the NDP don't actually offer anything, or if their offers don't seem credible, then people don't go vote. Because why would they? Right? Whereas people who own houses, right, and like landlords, right, they will. For sure they will. They're going to be like, yeah, I want to fucking keep my rent low. I don't want to lose this house. I don't want suddenly to have my property tax go up. I don't want any of that. I'm voting, right? But if like the liberals are just kind of saying like, yeah, pride flag, and the NDP are like, oh yeah, minority rights, like nobody's going to vote for that. Like nobody's actually going to care about that. New York City is evicting homeless people from temporary hotels into congregate shelters. Yep. Expect more of this. Expect a lot more of this. That's a big long video. I'm not going to show that. But the and it's happening right in time, right? Like it's the 2nd of July. A lot of the eviction moratoriums were lifted, and there's mass evictions are beginning. Mass evictions are beginning. And we're going to see the same thing here in Toronto, right? These rent moratoriums, these eviction moratoriums eventually go away. And the people who are owing lots of back rent, they're not going to be able to pay, and so they're going to be evicted, right? The New York City mayoral Democratic primary was a mess. Election was June 22nd. We won't find out official results until July 6th. Yeah, congregate shelters. Yeah, exactly. You might as well just say, like, convention center, right? Like, you might as well just say, like, they'll be sleeping on a cot surrounded by 1,000 people also sleeping on cots. Last two choices are the far-right conservative or a center-right conservative. Both. Yeah, that's New York for you, isn't it? Like, I don't know. Did we expect anything else? Like, that's New York, baby. On the 100th anniversary of the CPC, I just wanted to post this old art I drew with the diverse flags of the Chinese people over the flags of invaders. Oh, yeah. That's a cool scene. Oh, yeah, dude. Well, America is grim. Like, America is grim, dude. Like, when you actually, like, look at it, and, like, come on. New York? Like, hey, I'm walking here, New York, right? Like, you want to talk about a place that has completely distilled out any sense of empathy or compassion. You're talking about New York, right? Like, you're talking about, like, literally, oh, hey, flash flood warning in New Jersey, right? Like, New York has had a homelessness crisis since the 1960s. It's always had a homelessness crisis, and nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Louis C.K. actually had, like, a big, long bit about this, where he was just, like, he had a friend come in from, like, Montana, and she encountered, like, a homeless person living on the street, and she was like, oh my goodness, I need to help this person, and Louis is just like, oh, no, we don't do that here. They're like, well, does he need help? It's like, oh yes, desperately. He desperately needs our help, but we don't do that here, right? Like, and they don't, and they never have, right? Like, you talk about, like, the corrosion of individualism and kind of the corporate dulling of empathy and compassion, and the destruction of a civil society. You're talking about fucking New York, dude. Like, it's a city of stone and iron to match the hearts of its people. They don't give a fuck. They don't care at all. Like, when Giuliani was the mayor of the place, people loved Giuliani because he fixed the homelessness problem. And what did he do? He fucking pushed homeless people out. He used police forces to just push people out. Night, Ruth. Thanks for being here. And you know what, guys? It's late. I'm going to close it down. Oh, man. Good stream, guys. Good stream. Please leave a like. Please leave a share. Leave a subscription. Give me some money. Give me some money. Put some money in my bank account. Uh-huh. You guys are doing wonderfully. You're doing great. I love you all. Good luck. We're going to need it.